Hello and welcome to Astro Live, number 8, the Astrology of Love. I'm Alex Harper, your host, and we are here a couple days later due to some unforeseen circumstances. But it's not Valentine's Day, but it's still pretty close. I am joined by my colleague, Hope, at Dear Mortal. Hey, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So we're here. We each have a short presentation that we're going to give, and then we will be taking callers you can call in with your chart, the chart of the person you're in a relationship with, person you have a crush on, any of that. We'll look at your synastry, your composite charts, all that good stuff. Um, yeah, it's going to be a fun show, and I hope you guys like it. If you want to join the stream for the calling section, I will be posting that link on my Twitter account at Baleful Rays. So that is the way you will find the link to join the stream. I'm going to post that once we are through the presentation portion. So just keep an eye on my Twitter account for the link to call in and you can join. I think that we both have some stuff prepared to talk about the astrology of love, and that Hope has a presentation about this upcoming Venus retrograde that she would like to share. So let's start with that.
Thank you so much. I think it's great that we're going to be talking about the Venus retrograde that's happening right now in this year, and also about composite charts because I think it's going to segue really well into the part of the Astro Live and we read charts from the audience. I think that this will be a good backdrop, and hopefully, everybody is able to take something away from it. I have been researching this Venus retrograde that we're in right now. And astronomically speaking, Venus retrograde period is just when the planet Venus appears to move backwards in orbit. And Venus goes retrograde about like every 19 months or so. So I'm sure everyone here has at least heard about a Mercury retrograde. And, those happen like about a few times a year. And whereas Venus retrogrades are a lot more anomalous, it happens like every other year or so. I think that we're in a really special period in just like life because we're in one of these cycles. And let me hold on a second. Okay, so let me kind of get into it. So in terms of just like retrograde cycles in general, there is a revisitation that occurs, like revisiting something from the past. When it comes to Venus retrogrades, it could be like an ex-lover, or if you're a creative, it could be revisiting some sort of career move that you made in the last Venus retrograde cycle within that same sign. So I really see this as like a repetition of the Venus retrograde cycle that happened in 2017. So the two signs that are involved in this Venus retrograde is Pisces and Aries, but Venus stations retrograde in Aries. So I think that that's the reason why the 2017 Venus retrograde in Aries is kind of like our last version of this thing that we're going through right now. And depending on how sensitive your chart is to this Venus retrograde cycle, this could actually be like a really big turning point for you in your life. And I think that a way to look for this is like if your Venus is in Aries or if your Venus is in Pisces. And if you were born in like late 1992 to like early 1993 and your Venus is in Aries or in Pisces, I think that this is going to be like pretty significant for you as well. I won't get too into the weeds with that and just kind of leave it there for now. So, Venus actually goes retrograde on March 1st in the sign of Aries, but there is more to a Venus retrograde cycle than just a retrograde period. There is also a pre-shadow and a post-shadow. So a pre-shadow occurs before the planet actually goes retrograde, in this case, Venus. And the pre-shadow of any retrograde cycle can be approximated to something like a setting of the stage of the actual events that's going to happen in the retrograde period. And it'll function as like a preview of the actual retrograde. And then the retrograde itself is, the main event. This is what these few months was kind of like. This will be like the main themes of these few months. And the post shadow is going to be kind of like a period of clarity that occurs as the retrograde ends and kind of coming to conclusions about the events that had occurred. So the pre-shadow actually occurred in January 28th, which is why I keep referring to this Venus retrograde cycle as like this retrograde cycle that we're going through, because the pre-shadow did occur a few weeks ago. And yeah, let me just see if there's anything else. So Alex, is there something you want to say?
I was just gonna throw in here as an aside that the actual retrograde period for Venus lasts approximately 40 days. And, a lot of times with the Venus retrograde, there's this sense of like wandering or searching or like, trying to come up with what you want to do next and like assessing your options. And I think it's interesting that in the Bible, Jesus was wandering in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, which is approximately the same length of time as a Venus retrograde cycle. And there's lots of little astrological parallels peppered all throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament. So just thought I would throw that out there.
That's actually really interesting. I had no idea about not no idea about the 40s and 40s, but never made the connection. So that's really cool. So before I go to the next slide, I kind of just want to give like a quick like overview of like how I am delineating this Venus retrograde cycle. It's mostly through the lens of the decans. So essentially, like the zodiac sign can be divided up. Each zodiac sign can be divided up into 3 equal parts. There's like a bunch of different systems that you can use to like divide up the signs and whatnot, but the decans is the one that I've been like very fascinated with. So I'm going to be delineating it through the lens of the decans. And I'm also going to sprinkle in a little bit about the nodes as well, because I do think that it is really, I don't know. I think that it plays a big role in this Venus retrograde cycle. So just kind of keeping those 2 things in mind. Scroll down. So Venus is going to go through 3 decans during its retrograde cycle. The first one is the 3rd decan of Pisces. This is where the Venus retrograde begins. And because this is where the pre-shadow period of the Venus retrograde begins. And because this is this is where the pre-shadow begins, this is also where Venus is going to station direct. So I think that the themes of this decan play a really big role within this retrograde cycle. And I also think that it sets the stage for this Venus retrograde. I dubbed this decan within the context of the Venus retrograde, the hopes and dreams decan. And I see this as a period that began in January 28th and went up until February 5th as a period where we were like confronted with our dreams. And it's not the kind of dreams where, it's just like this idyllic, bright, romantic thing, which we do all have. But I think it's like the dreams that are harder to achieve due to some sort of like emotional trauma or due to some sort of like handicap that you have in life. So I kind of see this as like if you were playing a game and the goal of the game was to um, accomplish or achieve your dream, it's like starting out with some handicaps in the beginning of the game. And I think that we still have hope regardless. And we have hope that we're going to be able to overcome any obstacles and achieve this dream. So, a couple of examples that I can think of through talking to like friends and people that are going through this cycle and kind of looking at like what they were going through in 2017 is that like some of the examples that really stood out to me is like someone who really wants to live in like their dream apartment. It's like the person that watched like so many TikToks and like Instagram reels of like girls doing their like day in the lives or like morning routines, and it looks so idyllic and romantic. And this person thinks like, I really want that for myself. But it's like they have no money. They have a poor relationship with self-care. They're really bad with discipline because they grew up in a chaotic home where their caretakers couldn't provide them with any structure. So it's like this dream of like living in this like beautiful apartment with this idyllic self-care routine, but like not really having the resources to be able to do so. Or having this traumatic past that was stored in your body and makes it difficult, I think, to like really live it out, even if you were to have it. Another example could be someone who is like, who dreams of becoming like a big time model, but they're like in their 30s and they feel like they don't like their body image doesn't like match with what society is looking for. They don't feel thin enough, they don't feel like beautiful enough, but it's still kind of like having hope that like, well, the way that at least like Western society views like like body image types of things, and has been much more open to like all shapes and sizes. Maybe that direction that society is going in is going to make it so that I can become a big time model. And like it's like these dreams that are that we kind of have handicaps with. And I think that we're confronted by these dreams and we are seeking to materialize them into reality. And the reason why I think that is because the North Node is also in Pisces, and was so around this time period. So I think there is this desire to materialize these dreams into reality. And I'll come back to the post shadow in a little bit, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep.
Shout out to all the people watching. I see some familiar faces: Maddo, Sid, Gamine, Steven. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Um, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Keep going. Just
No,
wanted
it's
to
okay.
acknowledge some of the people. Yeah, someone says emotional trauma in 2017 and a repeat playing out again now. Scared a little if this might happen again. Well, sometimes you just gotta face things head on, Maybe it'll be different. Sometimes, a lot of times, the subsequent follow-ups tend to, you've grown as a person in the last 8 years, right? So don't forget that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really important to keep in mind because I do think that we are so much better equipped to deal with this repetition that's occurring right now, especially if you have an idea of what the themes were back in 2017 that are kind of playing out again in 2025. I would have like, some faith in yourself, and also I said
Hey,
um
Sid.
I'd also have some faith in yourself and just know that you're smarter and more capable this time around. Which leads me into the first decan of Aries. So, yeah, Venus enters the first decan of Aries, or entered on February 5th, and it's going to be here until February 23rd. And this is also like where a large chunk of the retrograde actually happens. And I think that this is like our courage and our ability to assert ourselves is being put to the test. And because you're going to need courage and you're going to need a lot of willpower to bring your dreams into a reality. Whether it's going to therapy so that you can, kind of understand like where this trauma is coming from and how old your trauma is, or whether it's like, uh, going on a hunt around like New York City and putting in your application at like all the agency websites and just like trying to find like like mutual connections or like people from college or people that you went to high school with that might have a connection to get like a gig, right, like a modeling gig. It's like really being proactive about making your dream into a reality. So I think that, the pre-shadow period is really going to kind of show like it will kind of manifest as us being like active towards bringing this dream into a reality. And something to note is that Venus has been in a superior square to Mars in Cancer, which is retrograde right now. So I do think that that we will be put into situations that call for like intense motivation and fighting power as well. And then last but not least, Venus enters the second decan of Aries. And that'll be on February 23rd. And it's going to station retrograde on March 1st. And I think that at this point, you'll really know whether you have been working towards actualizing your dream, right? Because I've been giving all these examples of like people actually doing something about it. But, it could also be that like you're not really doing something about it because of your life circumstances. Maybe you're really burnt out from the Mars retrograde and you just don't have it in you to like fucking take on another retrograde cycle, which is totally fair. But, if you have been, you are going to realize at this point, like, am I living the life that I want to live? Am I making the types of decisions that's going to support my dreams? And, if you have been, I think that this is going to be like an affirmation point um, in this retrograde cycle, the pre shadow and the retrograde. So from February 23rd to like March 9th, where you come face to face with the dream that you have been seeking. And these questions start to like come up in your mind like, am I really doing everything that I can to like fully materialize this dream? Either way, I think that your values are gonna come like front and center. And no matter like where you end up in this cycle, I think it's gonna be really clear to you like what you need to do to actualize your dreams, whether it's during the retrograde or whether it's during the post shadow. Um, I'm gonna try to zip through the retrograde itself and the post shadow because I'm almost out of time. So the retrograde itself, it's gonna go back. So Venus is gonna go back into the first decan of Aries. And because Venus is retrograde, it is moving slower. And the first decan of Aries is Mars ruled. So moving slowly in Martian territory, especially in the sign of Aries, it's not going to be easy. I think that March 10th to March 26th is going to be like it's I think it's like the test before. I think it's like kind of like the final boss stage. I don't know how many people are gonna get this reference. I know Alex, you will. But when you're like when you're like in a video game and you're like fighting like the final boss, and the final boss is like right about to die, but it grows like 8 more like arms and it grows like 3 times in size. And it becomes that much more ferocious because it's about to die, and it's this like added layer of challenge that's being added. And that's what I think this like retrograde cycle from like March 10th to March 26th is really going to be like. I think it's going to be really tough. um and I don't want to scare everyone. I'm sure like once it's happening, it's not going to feel scary. Maybe like the anticipation of it is always scarier. But I do think it's going to be like having to fight even harder. So let's say, just going back to like the model example, it could be that like you've faced so many rejections, right? And like you have actually gotten a gig when Venus was in the second decan of Aries, but like it didn't go well because, the the vibes were off. The photographer was being really creepy, and you were kind of sick. So it didn't go well, and it really put like a damper on like your confidence and like your drive and your motivation, and like you have to continue on, right? You have to keep reaching out to these agencies, and you have to keep working on your self confidence and whatnot. Or it could be that, like, let's say that, you know, that person who wanted that like dream apartment did get their dream apartment, but they can't find it in them to like um uh get the furniture that they want, and like motive, and like I don't know, because if you don't have the money, then they'd have to go to like thrift stores, and like thrifting can be hard. And also, like, how do I get the furniture into my apartment when I don't have a car? I think it's a lot of obstacles that come up after having gotten a taste of that
Yes.
dream.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times it's like the first time that Venus goes through these degrees, it's like there's this forward progress, and then the retrograde station represents some kind of stumbling block, and then when it goes retrograde, it's like about figuring out how to overcome that. And then when it passes through the final time, it's like, all right, now we're going to actually put this into motion, right? And so, like, I know Hope's just given these examples of other things like a job or an apartment, but it could also be like a relationship, right? Like you might think everything is great, and then during the retrograde period, you realize that, like, oh, there's this that we really haven't addressed that we've got to work together to kind of compromise on, or there's some new information that you learn, right? And a lot of times it's the post shadow period where things actually move forward into the future, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So Venus retrogrades then back into the third decan of Pisces. And that'll be when is that? I
Um,
think that's April 12th. It is, I think the station's direct on April 12th. Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but
I'm checking that right now. So it
okay.
goes back into Pisces on March 27th,
March 27th.
and then it stations direct on April 12th. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So March 27th to April 12th is the time period that it's in Pisces
Retrograding
in
back.
retrograde. It's retrograde in Pisces from March 27th to April 12th.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for looking for that. I didn't include it in the slide. So yeah, so Venus goes back into Pisces as it's retrograding back, and it stations direct on April 12th, and it's going to station direct with the North Node and with Saturn. So I think that this is like a culminating point in this Venus retrograde cycle where where it becomes really clear to you what you have to do to make this dream into a reality. I think there's a lot of like reality setting in. It's like hard truths, or it's realizing that it's actually a lot of responsibility to have your dream apartment and to maintain like this really great self-care routine. There's a lot of discipline involved. You know, you have to clean all the time. You have to have a really good relationship with yourself. Um, or if you're in a relationship, you know, it's like realizing, wow, like relationships are hard work, and I have to be really vulnerable, and um it's like it's a reality kicking in as to like what this dream really entails. And I think that at this point, like, it's nothing new per se, because you've been doing the work during the first second period. You want to know what's going through the pre-shadow, I want to know what's going through the retrograde, and now I think it's when things really settle in. So I think it's a point where you decide, like, do I accept this responsibility to manifest and actualize my dream? Or do I, you know, let go because it's exhausting and you're too tired and it's really stressful? And maybe I'll try again in like, another like what, 7 years, 7, 9 years, 8 years, 8 years,
8 years. Yeah,
eight
they're
years.
8 year cycles.
Yeah, 8 year in another 8 years. I think that you'll really know by this point. And so yeah, so then Venus goes direct.
Although there is a time thing where you get approximately 4 years after this retrograde, there will be a superior conjunction of Venus in the sign of Aries, where Venus conjuncts the Sun. It doesn't retrograde, but it does a superior conjunction of the Sun in Aries, and so sometimes there's like updates in between that,
Mhm.
in the middle of that 8 year cycle, right? So if Venus, retrogrades in Aries, it starts something and then you might get a follow up during that superior conjunction 4 years later. And then the 8 year point is like a reset of that cycle. So,
Mhm.
you can look at the 8 year Venus cycle as like starting and a peak 4 years later. And then we're full circle 8 years later.
Yeah, got it. Got it. So, so yeah, in 4 years you'll revisit this. If whether or not I think that you decide to keep on the path, or you decide I'm just gonna try again next time. Um, there is gonna be like a very strong clarity. And once Venus, is in its post shadow period, going through the first decan of Aries and through the second decan of Aries, it is going to be a lot of dust settling, a lot of coming to conclusions about what this was all about, and yeah, tying up of loose ends. Alex, you want to add anything to that?
Well, someone just asked what you're saying is that these are common themes for all of us or most of us. So, the thing is that it's going to depend on your chart and your past, like what this is going to do, right? So, um, if you want a clue as to how this is going to work for you, you go and look at previous Venus retrograde cycles because, they can, depending on the sign and your chart, it can be different themes, right? Just for example, for me, right, the retrograde periods in Aries and the superior conjunctions in Aries tend to be about love because I have Venus natally in Aries, but the ones in Gemini, right, where my sun is, those have had themes of like health and vitality related things, right? And so a lot of it depends on your chart and the planets that are in the sign that Venus is retrograding in, right? So if you have the sun in Aries, right, and not Venus, then this might be more about like your vitality and your well-being, right? And like the self-care stuff that Hope was talking about, right? It just depends on your chart as to what kind of Venus manifestation is going to happen for this retrograde.
What about those of us with Venus as the perfection lord of the year? Yeah, I would think that this Venus cycle is going to play is going to play a role in the theme of your year. So depending on like what house it's in, what sign it's in, I think that it is going to you are going to feel it. I mean, everyone's going to feel it, but I do think it's going to come into focus for you, whatever Venus means in your chart. Like for example, I have a friend who's a Libra rising, and since this retrograde begins in the sixth house for her, because Pisces is sixth from Libra in using the whole sign house system, this is really manifesting as like work. And working on like a creative project. She's working on a documentary for house music. And so this is, Venus is showing up as creativity. Venus is showing up as art in her charts. And I have another friend who, the one I was thinking about with the modeling gig, she's a Pisces rising. So, the dream began in her first house. So I think that like maybe like the topic of the dream within this retrograde cycle would be in whatever house Pisces is in your charts.
All right.
Um,
Did you have anything else to finish up with your presentation or are
nope,
you
that's it.
all
Thank
right?
you.
All right, cool. All right, now we're going to switch to my little presentation. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate how to use the composite chart, right? So this is something very easy to be able to do. And the beauty of this technique is that it's very simple. So we're going to be looking at the composite chart of uh, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, right? So before I do the bi-wheel here, I'll just show this is their composite chart. All right, so what is a composite chart? All right, so composite chart takes the midpoints of each of the planets and then puts them, and then the planet in this chart is represented by the midpoint, right? So now the beauty of this is that one, houses do not matter, right? So you do not need, so you can ignore all the houses, right? And you do not need the birth time of people. You only need the birthdays, right? And it still works because it's very simple but very reliable how we track this. So basically, we are going to want to look mainly at Venus. There's some other planets and transits that will come up, but what this is going to do is it's going to demonstrate just based on the combination of the archetypes of the planets and the geometry of the transits, you see how the relationship plays out, right? So, if you have a crush on somebody and you only know their birthday and not the time or any of that other stuff, you can still do composite charts, right? To see about, when's like the best time to message them or whatever, right? So this is Kim Kardashian and Kanye West's chart. And I chose them because everyone knows Kim and Kanye. They were one of the most iconic celebrity couples of like the last decade. And they have a very public, very well documented relationship. So it's perfect for demonstrating how composite charts work. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the bi-wheel where the inner wheel is going to be the composite chart and the outer wheel is going to be the transits. Okay. So again, like I said, ignore houses, ignore everything else. All we want to look at is Venus, right? And then when other things become relevant, I'll point that out. So, but all right. So what we want to do is we want to go all the way back to 2010. All right. So um, in 2010, Kim and Kanye met at a recording studio in December of 2010. And although their relationship didn't become public until later, this is when rumors in the tabloids started circulating about them. All right. So we see that right before they met, right, there's a Venus retrograde in Scorpio, right, which is trine to their composite Venus. This is happening in October 2010, right? And then the direct station is here in November. And then a couple weeks later in December, Venus is making a trine in Scorpio from the 5th from the natal Venus sign, right? And so this is when they actually meet and things start to develop in their relationship. Um, Now, what's the next date that we have that's publicly known for them? All right, well, it's in 2012, right? In April 2012, Kanye goes on the Today Show and insinuates that they're together, and then Kim plays coy in the media, doesn't really acknowledge it, and then a few weeks later, they are photographed out in public together for the first time, right? And so we see what's happening here is that there's a Venus retrograde in Gemini here. Now, Gemini is the 12th sign from the natal Venus, right? So this is why you don't need to know the houses because you derive the houses from Venus, right? And so the 12th house can a lot of times be about secrets coming out, right? And so they've had this secret relationship, right? And then it's during this Venus retrograde in Gemini that the relationship becomes public, right? So very easy and clear example. Now, the next thing we have is on December 31st of 2012. All right, the Kanye is performing in New Jersey, right? And he's on stage, and he says, give a shout out to my baby mama, right? And announces that Kim is pregnant, right? So what do we have going on here? I mean, so Venus here is, um, not really doing much, but there is this Jupiter happening here, kind of activating that same uh, Venus retrograde from when they first were exposed, and also Saturn is activating the Venus, right? And so, this is like Saturn is kind of uh, activating here, and so it may have been uncomfortable for Kim to have her pregnancy announced when Kanye's on stage performing at a concert. Um, so, I would say that Venus activation is, it's a bit of a malefic kind of thing, right? And yeah, so that's the next thing. And then if we step forward a few months in June of 2013. Okay, June 15th, 2013. This is when uh, Northwest is born, their first child. And we see this happens during a Venus return, right? Venus is conjunct their composite Venus, right? So whenever Venus returns to and conjuncts the composite, or it makes an angular aspect, right, to the composite Venus, that is usually a new chapter or a step forward in the relationship, right? So that's the next point that we know about in the relationship. Then, if we go forward a few weeks, so in October of 2013, that's when Kanye proposes to her. All right, so we go a step forward to October. Um, we see Venus here is trining natal Venus in September, and we've got Jupiter here. Jupiter is in the same sign as their composite Venus, and Jupiter is actually going to station retrograde. This is important. So Jupiter stations retrograde. It's basically at the degree of the retrograde station for October. It actually stations retrograde in November, but uh, it's funny because by the time Jupiter gets back to 20 degrees of Cancer, that's going to be when they get married, right? And so the Jupiter cycle going over their composite Venus tracks the proposal and the marriage, right? So Kanye proposes in the end of October. Jupiter is here at the degree of its retrograde station. Saturn is trine Venus. So we have Jupiter and Saturn activations of the composite Venus, which show, all right, this is something that's going to be solidified and brought into the future, right? Then we go forward to March 2014. So in March of 2014, this is when they appeared on the cover of Vogue, right? Where Kim's in her wedding dress, right? It's a Here I can show the cover. You guys might remember it. Let me find it here. Um, one second. Yeah, here we go. This, right? So I don't know. I remember when this came out. So this happens, right, exactly when um, Jupiter is here conjunct their composite Venus,
Yeah, by
right?
the degree too. That's
Yeah.
insane.
So then, what
Just real
happens?
quick, just
Oh
real
yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
Something that I noticed is that whenever there's like this really large like public event that occurs, like for instance when they're both on the cover of Vogue, or when Kanye announces on stage that that something about their relationship, that Kim is pregnant or whatever. I noticed that in the first time around when when he did it on stage, Moon was in Leo conjunct the sun, and the Mercury. That's like a Sun Mercury really tight conjunction there. And then for this Vogue cover that they did together as a couple, the transiting sun is conjunct their composite moon. So there's like sun moon conjunctions happening with these like really large like public events about like them being a couple.
Yes, yes. Now we will have more of their public stuff going up. So let's see if that pattern holds true. That's a good
Mhm.
observation, Hope. So, all right, the next date we want to look at is May 24th of 2014. All right, this is when they got married. All right, so May 24th, 2014. Here's Jupiter here at 19 degrees of Cancer, nearly back to 20 degrees of Cancer, which was the degree of the retrograde station. So we can see how this Jupiter cycle, where it went in conjuncted Venus, stationed retrograde, went back, stationed on the Venus, then comes back and exits post shadow and is here at the end of its shadow period. Uh, then the proposal gives its result where they get married, right? So, uh, and we also see that Venus down here is in Aries, which is square to the natal Venus sign,
Mm,
right? And the moon on this day would have activated their natal Venus too, or their composite Venus too. So, okay, now what else? What else do we have for them? All right, we got to go forward a year this time. All right, so this is around May. This is when we get the announcement that Kim is pregnant again, right? All right, so remember last time when Northwest was born, Venus was conjunct the composite Venus, right? Now here, when they announced she's pregnant again, Jupiter is here in the same sign as their composite Jupiter, right? And then what else do we have going on? I think that's about it. But yeah, this is another big point for them. Um, Now, the second child is born in December of this year, right? So now one thing about this that you guys might remember is that this birth of their second child, Saint West, was very painful for Kim, and there was complications in the hospital, and there was, it was the last of their children that was born naturally. All their subsequent two children were born through through surrogacy, right?
mm,
And so, what can we see that would show that this in the chart, right? Well, Venus is in Scorpio, which is important for them, right? They seem to be sensitive to Venus and Scorpio transits. So it's in a sign that's trine the natal Venus. However, Mars here, Mars and the moon are square the composite Venus, right? And, that's not very comfortable. Also, what's
mm.
Saturn doing? Um, Saturn Saturn's down here conjunct the sun. Saturn is trine their Jupiter, which you could think of as fertility. But really here, I think the important thing to take away is that we this is the first time we have Mars kind of interfering, right? And causing problems, right? Um, so that's kind of interesting. Before, Mars was not really that close to aspecting their natal Venus or their composite Venus during a birth transit. So next, we have the birth of the third child. All right, so that's going to happen in January 2018. All right, so that is January 15th, 2018. Step forward here. This is when Chicago West is born. All right. Um, Now, one thing I think is interesting here is that once they start using surrogates, the malefics start to become more active in these transits, right? We see Jupiter and Mars here are trying their composite Venus, right? We see Saturn is opposite their composite Venus,
Mm,
right? Venus is opposite their composite Venus, right? So, um, that to me, and with surrogacy kind of pregnancy, there is a malefic side to that, right? Because someone else has to carry the baby, and then you are taking that baby away from like the mother that has carried it. And so when we go to the fourth child, we'll see the malefics here more involved again, right? So on May 9th, 2019, their last child, Psalm West, is born. And this is, Yeah, May 9th, 2019. Here we go. All right. So what do we see here? We have um, Venus square, their composite Venus. We have Saturn and Pluto opposite the natal Venus. We have Rahu here with their composite Venus. Um, yeah, and where's Mars? What is Mars doing? Oh, yeah, Mars is here in the 12th from their composite Venus, right? So, again, with the surrogacy birth, there is more malefic activation, whereas before it was just the benefics making these activations. Now we have benefic and malefic activation. Okay, so now here is where things really start to get interesting because if you remember, if you were following this at the time, you'll remember that it was in the fall of 2020 when rumors started to swirl about their relationship and that they were splitting up. So they didn't file for divorce until this February 2021, but we see, in midway through 2020, there's problems. So remember how they got when they first announced their public relationship, there was a Venus retrograde right before that in Gemini, right? So they are sensitive to the Gemini Venus retrograde, right?
Mhm.
Here it is happening again 8 years later. And this is when the problems started to leak into the tabloid press. And I was following this in the tabloids at the time. And this is when all this stuff started to come out. And so we've got this happening, and then we go forward. We also see that there's going to be a Mars retrograde here in Aries. All right, so Mars stations retrograde here in September, and this is when things really started to hit the tabloid presses, and all their friends were gossing and stuff like that. And Mars is retrograding square to the composite Venus. Right, Mars stations direct here within 5 degrees of their composite Venus. Right, and it's also Venus is also being square to their natal Venus, and um, yeah, so this is when things really started to get ugly with Kim and Kanye. Now, we go forward to February 19th. This is when Kim files for divorce. There's not a lot of activation on this day. What do we have? We have Venus conjunct their Mars, right? And we have what else do we have? Um, Venus is opposite their this Leo stuff here. Um, I don't really think this is particularly important because by this point the filing of the divorce is just a formality, and they had likely split months earlier. We don't know for sure, obviously, because not every detail is public. But I'm willing to bet that the rock bottom happened probably during that Mars retrograde in Aries, right? Now, if we go for this is the last thing I have, is that about a year later, there's all of this, uh, toxic shit in the tabloids about each other where they are slinging dirt at each other in the media, right? And there's a lot of exposure. That's as in late February going into March of 2022. Right now, what Hope mentioned earlier, the Sun conjunct their moon, right? Venus is conjunct Pluto and Mars in the sign that's opposite their composite Venus, right? So this is like everything is getting blown up, right?
Uh,
This
yeah.
is when all of the sordid details of all their fights and all of that shit becomes public. And so
Mhm.
this is, they're not divorced here at yet, but um, this is really when things fall apart, and there's really no hope for things to be saved at this point.
It's
So,
it's
yeah, go.
interesting how like the tabloid stuff shows up in Pisces for them because the Vogue cover was when Sun was in Pisces and like when all this like really nasty shit was coming out. It seems like when Sun's in Pisces too, and obviously they have their Moon and their K2 here too. And the is it fifth from the ascendant?
Well,
Um,
we want to look at the derived houses relative to the Venus.
so ninth
Yeah,
from Venus.
yeah,
Ninth could be like broadcasting and like dissemination,
media. Yeah,
yeah, media and stuff. Uh-huh.
yeah. So, um, this is a really easy technique that you can use on charts, and it's basically for a romantic relationship. You wanna make Venus the ascendant, right? And look at everything relative to Venus. Now, if you're going to look at other types of relationships with composite charts, you might do that differently. But we're here to talk about looking at composite charts in the context of romantic relationships. And we actually have our first caller joining us who is who's agreed to share her story and her composite chart with her partner so that we can see how this works with someone else. All
Mm.
right, I see she has joined us. Hi, Daphne. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi,
Hey.
Daphne.
Hello. It's. I love that you're using Kanye because my ex actually has the same big three.
Nice, nice.
No way.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch this to where we've got the thumbnails like this so that it doesn't block the chart. All right, everyone can still see the chart, okay? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now I'm gonna go ahead while we're doing this and post the link to Twitter. So future callers, you can go on my Twitter account and join the stream this way. We'll just try and do them on the first come, first serve. We had Daphne lined up because she's agreed to let us look at her relationship. 1 second while I post this link to Twitter. All right. Boom. All right, cool. All right. All right. Okay, Daphne. First, I'm gonna need your birth information, and then we can go and do your partner. So, what is your birthday?
February 22nd, 1984.
All right, and the
Okay.
time,
1:55 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
location.
Toledo, Ohio.
How do you
Toledo.
T-O-O?
Toledo.
T-O-L.
Edo.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, then your partner. When was he born?
June 19th, 1984. 7:30 a.m.
Same place or no?
Detroit, Michigan.
All right, here we go. Now let's just make the composite. All right. So let's just look at that briefly. Okay, so the natal Venus is here in Aries, which is how appropriate that we
Interesting.
are having the Venus retrograde in Aries, and your composite Venus is in Aries. All right, let's look at the transits. All right, so need to get this pulled up with the transits. All right, so here we go. When did you guys? So I guess the first date we want to look at is oh, someone's asking how to join. Here, I'll also post the link to join in the chat. Hang on 1 second, guys.
16 degrees.
Okay, so when did you guys meet?
March 24th, 2015.
All right, 2015. All right, March 24th. Let's go
2015.
forward here. All right. Okay, so we have Uranus is conjunct your Venus. Did you meet in some kind of unexpected fashion? Like
On Tinder.
on Tinder. Okay, well, Uranus does rule like electronics and the internet. You know, if there's one planet that's associated with the internet, and electronic media, it's Uranus. So that's interesting that you met when Uranus was exactly on your composite Venus. Um, Looks like you had just had a Venus return a few weeks previously. Did you guys start talking on the app like
A few
maybe
weeks
2 weeks
prior.
prior? So that would have
Yeah.
been in the beginning of March when Venus would have been exactly conjunct um, the composite Venus. Okay.
March 5th, 2015. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, yeah, that's because they matched on the app
Yeah.
a few weeks before the first date.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. Then I guess the next thing we would want to look at is like, all right, when did things get like serious and you're like, okay, this is a relationship, like we're together, you're my girlfriend, etc. When was that?
Not long, early April.
April. Okay. So let's just go forward to April.
I think it was like April 8th or 9th when we first, posted each other on social media.
All right,
Mm.
well, we see April 6th here. The Sun and Uranus are conjunct your composite Venus.
Yeah. Wow.
And then Mercury joins on the 8th. So, yeah, there you go. Mercury's the messenger, right? Bringing things forward. Okay, cool. Now, what about when he proposed to you to get married?
That was March of 2016,
Okay, so we need to go forward about a year.
about March 19th, I think exactly.
All right, let's go to March 19th. All right. What do we have here? All right, so Venus is in the 12th sign from the um, composite Venus, right? Now we saw this with Kim and Kanye, that the 12th sign from the natal Venus is significant, right? So why? All right, a couple of reasons. Um, this is because the 12th, in addition to the negative qualities of the 12th that everyone is familiar with, the 12th also represents completions and things coming together, right? Endings, like ending of one chapter, starting of a new. And so the 12th also has these kind of harmonizing energies of bringing things to a close. We also see that Saturn here is trine to the degree of the composite Venus, right? So Saturn represents
Wow.
bonds and ties, right? So Saturn Venus is marriage because Venus is love, Saturn is binding you together, right? And so, you always want to see and we saw Saturn being active. Saturn trined Kim and Kanye's Venus when he proposed, right? So, very interesting that this is working out.
The moon is
Same
trying
way.
to from Leo at 19
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah, the moon activates it on this day. Good
Yeah.
catch. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm. All right. So, when did you guys get married?
October 29th, 2016.
Oh, the same year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Not a very long engagement.
No.
Very Venus and Aries
Yeah.
indeed.
All right.
my fifth house.
October 29th. Okay. We have Jupiter opposite Venus. What else do we have? We have Venus conjunct Saturn, trine composite
Wow.
Venus. There again, marriage is Venus and Saturn, right?
Wow.
So that's really cool. However, Mars is also square the Venus. So I'm wondering, was there some kind of like friction with this marriage? Was it not very smooth? Was there like some hiccups with the
Yes.
ceremony? Right?
Um,
Self.
yeah, the ceremony didn't start on time.
Right.
So that was, yeah, pretty nerve-wracking.
Right.
But
Yeah.
hiccups almost from the start of the marriage throughout.
Right. Yeah, because if we go forward right to the spring, then we're gonna get this Venus retrograde, which is gonna happen. This is an echo of the one that's about to happen, which in the spring of 2017, there's a Venus retrograde.
Yeah.
It stations very close to your natal Venus. So I'm wondering what was going on around March, around the beginning of March 2017. This would have been about 6 months after you guys got married.
Yeah, the pre-shadow.
Nothing major that I can think about, but it was about within the first 6 months that we were just at each other's throat, like
Right.
arguing. And I'm
Right.
like, what is this about? Like for no reason. I didn't know what was going on.
So this would have been kind of maybe when the problems first started to appear.
I think so, yeah. That's kind of when,
Right.
yeah, it was just like things just seemed to not be
Yeah.
going
I mean,
smooth.
yeah, this Venus
Mhm.
retrograde period lasts from the beginning of March 2017 and it goes, and then the post shadow, is cleared by May 20th, 2017. Right. So that would be the time period that we would be looking at. Right. All right. But, it looks like maybe there was some hope because Jupiter is down here getting ready to station direct opposite the Venus. So you guys weren't ready to give up yet. Um, all right. Well, would you mind sharing the date when things, I guess, when things real, where you were like, I don't know, like a rock bottom kind of date or a date when it was like, fuck, this is just really not working, right? Do you have a specific date in mind for that?
Yeah, kind of where the wool was pulled from my eyes, I would say,
Right.
would be about July 2018.
Okay. All right. Let's go
From
forward
June to
to.
July, but about July 18th,
Okay.
mid-July
So
2018.
starting in June, what do we have? We have Saturn is on their composite Jupiter.
Mm.
Venus is square their composite Venus. Um, Saturn's gonna. I think this is actually the Saturn stationing retrograde here. Let me look. No, it hadn't. Saturn stationed retrograde around.
Well, April. There were some issues in April, but June, July is when I got the
Yeah, would have been
answers of what was going on.
right. Yeah, so I would expect that this would have been significant, this Saturn retrograde station at 9 degrees of Capricorn, because this is the last Saturn retrograde station before it's going to square your Venus. And so I imagine like there could have been like problems start to come to the surface
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah, looking back now, it was April when he, yeah, said some
What?
things that kind of was like, I don't
Mm.
see a future with you anymore.
Oh,
Like,
Jesus. Yeah.
what?
I can imagine.
We're married. What do you mean?
All
Yeah.
right, so then by July, you said that you knew that things were just not going to work, right?
Well,
Or that you found something out
yeah.
that changed how you saw things. All right, and it was
Yes.
July 18th.
Yeah.
All right, so July 18th, what do we have going on at this date? Okay, we have um Jupiter conjunct your Saturn and Mars, this malefic conjunction here.
Mm.
All right, so that could be like blowing up the problems, right? And it's also eighth in the eighth house from the natal Venus sign, right? Um, let's see what else is going on here. Mars is retrograde in the 11th, conjunct Ketu. So this is like 11th from Venus, Mars Ketu. That's like all the fun and joy being sucked out of things. Um, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, it does definitely doesn't look great. All right. So,
Lilith on Moon in the fourth. I'm sorry, just looking. Lilith on Moon in the fourth house is pretty significant, I think. I was
mm,
pregnant at the time. I don't know if that
oh, okay, you were pregnant. Okay.
does
Mm.
that mean, does that kind of show, or would that be more fifth house?
I don't know. I mean, I I don't know about I don't really use Lilith in that way. I use it from like kind of a Vedic perspective, but I'm
Mm,
open to I keep an open mind, right? I'm not saying it's
mm,
insignificant, but it wouldn't have occurred to me. The thing that I would think so with the kids, I mean, Leo is the fifth sign from the natal Venus, and there's and also Jupiter seems to be involved in fertility in composite charts, right? That's the other thing I've noticed is that Jupiter tends to be significant for fertility, and you
Mm,
do have Jupiter being activated here by Saturn
mm.
because yeah, Jupiter's or Saturn's going to station on the Jupiter. Like when did you end up giving birth or was it?
I did January of 2019.
All right, let's look at that. Um,
Oh, just real quick, there was a eclipse fourth from Venus
ooh.
in July, on July 12th
Oh,
of
that's like right
2020.
before. Good catch, though.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that probably played a role in that too.
Yeah, yeah, and the fourth is not good. Okay, so let's go to January 2019. Okay, we have all right, so this is kind of cute.
That's an eclipse
So
from fifth from the moon.
Jupiter, which is fertility, is trine the composite Venus. Um, we also have Mars in the same sign as Venus, so that could be like the birth pains. And then we also have Saturn squaring the composite Venus and conjunct the composite Jupiter. And then Mercury here, which Mercury is also a significator of children, right? If Jupiter is fertility, then Mercury is the child itself, and Mercury is conjunct Jupiter, the composite Jupiter, right here. So that's kind of cool.
Mhm.
The
Um,
other thing is that there was a eclipse in Leo a few weeks after. So there
mm,
wasn't on January 20th, 2019, there was an eclipse in Leo, which would have been fifth from your Venus. And yeah, it's some like major beginning. It's like literally bringing a kid home.
She was born the 16th. So yeah.
Whoa,
yeah,
yeah.
so on the 16th, we've got yeah, Jupiter, trine Venus. Now, Mars is conjunct the Venus. Now, when we saw that in Kim's chart, the birth was not very smooth. It was kind of painful. Was there any complications with the birth?
No complications, but it was pretty painful.
Okay.
That's
All
good.
right. Well, that's good. Um, okay. Well, I guess we can look now at your separation. When did that occur?
It was about August 30th, 21.
Okay.
Okay.
2021. August, what was it?
30th.
30th. Okay. Okay, August 30th, 2021. We have Venus opposite Venus, right? So this is like when Venus goes opposite Venus, it's like a dramatic like culminating point in the 18-month Venus cycle, right? So um that would make sense. Also, what else do we have? There is Where's Saturn? I mean, Saturn is here. It's sextile. Where's Mars? Mars is
Virgo.
in Virgo, which is the sixth sign from the natal Venus. It's not very good. Um, yeah. Um, when did you make the decision to leave, though? I'm curious about that. Because a lot of times I've been married before, and a lot of times you make the decision, but you're not able to actually leave until like maybe a couple months later.
It was probably earlier that month.
Right. So let's see if there was anything earlier this month. Hmm. Not seeing. I mean, there's the nodes are conjunct, the composite nodes. So that's kind of interesting.
My nodal return also it was.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There
My
might
natal
be.
nodal return.
Oh, and you're a Sag rising, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That checks
So
out.
yeah, sometimes Now, see, one thing about composite charts, right, is that I've noticed with romantic relationships is that they really only seem to function while the people still have some kind of relationship with each other, right? And that once the people are split up and like don't really have any kind of relationship anymore, then there is then it doesn't quite work the same way, right? Now, if you have kids with the person, it's likely you have to still maintain some type of relationship with them, and so the composite chart could still work with that. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, that's just something to note that the composite chart seems to only be valid when uh, when you're together. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us, Daphne. That's really brave
Uh,
of you to get up here and like let us all look at your relationship and dissect it. You know, we couldn't do this without you, so I'm really thankful you came on. Is there any last question you had before we take the next caller?
So, not being legally divorced yet, is there any important date to do that? It doesn't matter at this point. I know you said with Kim and Kanye that, it's just a formality.
Right. So, I mean, there is this. I mean, is the divorce being close to finalized? Because I feel like it might happen during this Venus retrograde. I mean,
I'm
also,
I'm
yeah,
planning to
Mars,
file very soon. I haven't filed yet, but yeah, that's
because like
our
Mars is
priority.
going to be stationing direct square your composite Venus uh here on February 23rd.
mm,
So, and Mars is in the fourth sign from Venus, which is, a malefic house, 4, 6, 8, and 12 are
Mm.
bad houses. So, uh, I could definitely see this being the filing for divorce. It's simultaneous Venus return with Mars squaring Venus, stationing direct. I mean, if you were
yeah.
gonna file for divorce, I would say this would be,
Now's the time.
yeah, this would be the time to do it.
That
Yeah.
Venus return gets everybody. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Let's see who we've got next. All right. Who was I think Syl was the first one to ask if she could go. So we will add her. Hey Syl, how you doing?
Hi, Sel.
Hey guys, how are you? It's such a pleasure to be here. I follow you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you for
Yeah, thanks
joining
for
us.
coming.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having
thank
me.
you for, letting us use your chart for this. All right, let's see. All right, so when is your birthday?
So my birthday is October 26th, 84.
Another 1984. Okay.
Yep.
And what's the time?
8:10 a.m. São Paulo, Brazil.
Um, all right. Now let's just make sure this is the right chart. Are you a Sag rising?
I am.
All right. With the sun in Scorpio and the moon in Sag.
Yes.
All right, just making sure this is the right chart.
Me
Okay,
too.
now let's get your partner.
Okay.
Or is this someone you're with now,
Yes.
currently? All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Let me change the name. Okay, when was this partner born? And is this a man or a woman?
It's a man.
Okay, all right.
He was born April 24th, 1993 in Quilmes, Argentina.
Can you spell the city?
Yes. So Quilmes, Quilmes.
All right. And do you have a time for him? If not, I
Yes.
can just put noon. What time?
9:15 a.m.
All right.
It's really interesting because in terms of like Scorpio Taurus couples, I see a lot of like Scorpio Sun women and Taurus Sun men, and I don't see it the other way around ever. So
I attract so many Tauros or Taurus rising. It's insane. Like
yeah.
my ex-husband, he was a Leo with a Taurus rising.
Uh-huh.
And after my ex-husband, I had like a situationship with a guy, and he's a Libra, and his
Uh-huh.
rising is Taurus. It's like, oh my God, stop it.
Do you have a Scorpio stellium?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That
I,
makes sense. You're attracting all the Tauruses then.
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like these two have a Aquarius in their composite chart. So we're gonna want to look. We're gonna be focused on
Oh.
Aquarius for this. Now let's get the bi-wheel up. Whoops, wrong thing.
Did you guys get together when Saturn was in Aquarius?
no, we got together in August.
Oh, of last year?
Yeah, last year. I think it was the first day that Mercury was not retrograde, something like that. We met on August 24th last year, but the first kiss was 28th. So we considered the 28th. So it's going to be almost 6 months now.
Got it.
Okay. So August 28th.
Yes. But as a Scorpio, it took me like a long time to heal from my past relationship.
Yeah, felt.
Okay, so we see here, all right, the first thing that jumps out to me is that we got Venus here is getting ready to trine. It's changing signs and it's going to trine the composite Venus. That's going to happen like a few weeks later. It's going to, or like a week later, September 2nd.
Oh, wow.
So if this is the start, then it's like, in my opinion, it's within a week. So it's within orb of that trine. Um, Also, we have Jupiter trining by sign the composite Venus. So, nice new beginning. Also, there is a new moon here happening very close to the composite moon uh, on in the first part of September.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
And I just want to elaborate. So like when a planet is changing signs, so when it's in like the last few degrees of a sign, like 28, 29,
Mhm.
it's considered to be, or when it's at 0 or 1, the beginning of a sign, Alex, it's called Sandhi, right? When like it's like a condition of a planet. And like Alex actually taught me this about how like when a planet is changing signs, whatever you're like doing in that moment is gonna be like a marker of the future. It's like something that's gonna be long lasting. So the fact that you guys like met around that time and Venus was like applying to a trine with your composite Venus is like definitely what you would want for like a new relationship.
Oh, okay.
Well, so, yeah, sort of. uh,
Go on.
technically, the positive Venus sign changes occur when Venus is at least 30 degrees away from the sun. Now, here it's about 23, so it's like Venus is not combust. So this would be a so-so Venus sign change,
Oh,
right? Not,
Mhm.
not bad, but not spectacular either. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship is not going to be good, right? It just means that, there might be the beginning, maybe, there may be some kinks to work out, right?
yeah.
So let's go forward and see if we can determine like when there could have been good times. So I mean, here towards the end of September, we get Venus square Venus and in the sign of Jupiter, the composite Jupiter. I would expect that, this time would have been particularly romantic.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Okay. Cool. Um, all right. Let's see what else we have. Where is?
Composite Jupiter is also fifth from, or transiting Jupiter is also fifth from composite Venus too.
Yes. Yes. And Jupiter in the fifth is always good.
Oh, okay.
Now we've also got. All right. So what I'm interested in here
Yeah.
is this: when Mars stations retrograde opposite your composite Venus towards the end of November, was
Mm,
that I would feel like that could have been maybe of like maybe some wishy-washiness. Venus is also 12th from the composite Venus. Maybe there's some worries about but also there's a new moon happening sextile to Venus. So I don't know, maybe a new beginning or rethinking how you guys are together. I don't know. What was going on around this time period?
Yeah. So we both have like a lot of traumas from past relationships. So I would say like in November, like November was shaky, and then December was all good. I would say like we solidified the relationship way more.
mm,
And then December, so end of December, mid of December, I went to Brazil to visit my parents. And then when I was back, January, everything was like romantic again. And now it's like weird right now.
Right
mm.
now, it's weird.
And I
Okay.
know, yeah, and I see like Hope's tweets, and I know that you have Aries in Venus, so
Mhm.
he does. So I'm like just wondering like how that's gonna be for him, because it's gonna be
Mhm.
his Venus return.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when I met my ex-husband, it was in 2017. So I know it's also, I mean, I study astrology, but I don't know as much as you guys. So I know for me, it's like a new turning point somehow.
Okay. Could you give me your ex-husband's birthday again?
Oh, my ex-husband?
I'm sorry, the guy that you're dating right now.
Oh, okay. So April 24th,
Mm-hmm.
1993.
Mm-hmm. 1993?
Yeah, 1993.
Okay, okay, yeah, we're going through the same shit right now, him and I.
Yeah.
And what time was he born?
9 9 a.m. 15. So 9:15 a.m. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
All right.
And then where was he born again? The city?
Quilmes.
Mhm.
Quilm.
Oh, got
Yeah,
it.
in Argentina.
Okay, great.
So someone in chat asks, so if a composite is only valid when you're with a partner, would you look at transits to the natal chart instead to see if you wanted to see if there's reconciliation? So this is kind of a complicated answer because the thing is that if there was a reconciliation, you would expect that to show up in the composite chart. However, if you're broken up, it's a very easy way to give yourself a bunch of false hope is by looking at the composite chart for possible times of reconciliation. Now, you might, you know, if you were trying to plan on a time to reach out to the person, right? You might use the composite chart to do that, right? To like come up with a time when both you guys are having activations, right? And it may be, advantageous to use the composite chart. Um, does everything look yellow to you guys? Because I think my
No,
the
it looks
blue
like
light filter came on. All right, that's just a filter on my end.
Mhm,
Good. All
mhm.
right. Um, Okay, so well, I'm wondering. I mean, Jupiter here stationed direct, trine your natal Venus in early February. So you said I know you said there's some rough parts in January. Has things started to get better, like in the last 2 weeks?
yeah. So when I was back from Brazil, everything was good. Like, but right now it's shaky. So I know he has like on his chart, he has the Mars return, and also he's
Mhm.
gonna have a Venus return.
Yeah.
So I
Mm.
just wanted to understand a little bit more. So
Yeah.
Maybe
like
we can look at his chart.
Yeah. Did he have you guys ever communicated about what 2017 was like for him?
so not much. I know 2017. It was when he came here to the U.S.
Oh, okay.
and he decided to stay. That was when I met my ex-husband as well.
Okay. Okay. And do you happen to know if that was like in the winter and spring of 2017 for him?
It was in August 2017 because
Okay.
it was when I met my ex-husband as well. So he came from Argentina to
Okay.
LA and I met my ex-husband in the Bay Area.
Do you know if he was in a relationship before he came to the States?
He was.
He was? Okay. So he was in a relationship with someone in the city that he lived in and then broke up and then moved to the States.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay.
So, I mean, one thing that is going on with his chart, I would need to check his dashas to be sure, but he's got this Jupiter Ketu transit going on right now. And so, Jupiter Ketu, that can feel like a lot of the like good things in your life are just being drained, right? When Jupiter goes over Ketu, it it's not great. He also just had Rahu go over this, and now he's got like Rahu over his in the sign of his midheaven, right? And the Rahu going across the midheaven can be like a crisis point, right? So it can be like feeling like it can be associated with moving. It can be like changing jobs, right? It's basically like Rahu going over the midheaven is a low point, whereas Ketu going over the midheaven is better, right? So he's kind of at a low point in like an 18 and a half year cycle right now. He's got some pretty heavy nodal activations going on. And yeah, I don't know. I would be patient with him, right? Because it looks like from his natal chart, he's got some kind of difficult configurations going on. And yeah, I would just be, obviously you don't put up with bullshit,
Yeah.
but I would also perhaps be a little bit more understanding than you might ordinarily be, just because that Rahu over the midheaven is a rough transit, and it really just came into orb because his midheaven is at 6 degrees. Rahu has a 13-degree orb of approach, right? And so uh, it really he would have started to feel the anxiety of Rahu on his midheaven. Um, well, actually, it's it's gonna get worse actually, because it's gonna be like here. I'll find the date that you need to be watching out for, because it's like so we want to see Rahu at 19 degrees of Pisces. That's when things are gonna start to get haywire for him, which is later this year, I think. Um, yeah, around here, around July.
Okay.
He's also going to have Saturn stationing retrograde on his Venus, right? So, yeah. And but he is going to have Jupiter here conjunct his Mars. That's pretty good. Also, Venus on his Ketu. Yeah, I really don't like this time period for him. I feel like, if there's a time period when he might decide to dip, right? This could be it, right? But that's not to say he might not come back. He might. I would just say, watch out for him feeling wishy washy, or all this stuff around July, because this is really when he is at the peak of the kind of bad transits he's going through right now, because he's got Saturn stationing on his Venus, he's got Rahu approaching the midheaven, he's got Venus on his Ketu, he's got Uranus on his moon. He may actually move during this Uranus moon transit. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on right now. So yeah, I
That
don't
would
know.
kind of also harken back to what happened in 2017, was that how he moved, and he like was in a relationship and he ended up moving. So it could this that there could be repetitions of things like that. Not that it happens exactly that way,
Yeah.
but like the trial and tribulations that he went through in 2017 seem to be like they're going to be akin to what's going to happen or what is happening right now.
Okay.
And the other thing is that he does have, yeah, so he has Mars in Cancer, so he is going through like a Mars return retrograde cycle, and also he has Venus in Aries, and they're both getting triggered by these retrograde cycles. I would assume that like there's other things in his life that just aren't going well. Maybe it's something to do with like his finances, his job, maybe even like family stuff. Isn't there's just like a lot of drama in his life right now, and it's possible that like I don't want to get too like psychoanalytical here,
Yeah.
but I do think that this Venus retrograde cycle speaks a lot to like what our like dreams and our hopes are, and how these specific dreams are within the context of despite what I've gone through in the past, I'm still going to fight to make sure that this happens. So,
Okay.
there is this, I think that he is better equipped to deal with the drama and the tests of this Venus retrograde cycle because he is, like 8 years older.
Yeah.
But because it happened in 2017, right? So it's like, yeah, so he's like 8 years older since then. Am
Yeah.
I the
All
years
right.
right? Yeah. So and it's also happening like, and you're using the whole sign house system, and it's happening in his 12th house. I
Yeah.
think so, and his Venus and his Mercury and his lot of spirit are there too. So I think that like a lot of his fears and anxieties are probably being triggered right now in context to everything else that's happening. So I do agree with like Alex that like um don't take any bullshit and know your worth, but also he's going through some shit. So like, I think that it is okay to be compassionate and empathetic and like try to have an open conversation when he's ready to. And it sounds like you guys have, because you know that he has baggage, and you have your own share of trauma. So like maybe like maybe like you guys would be able to have a good conversation with with his like Taurus self, with like a deep, intense, introspective, Scorpio lady.
Well,
um
I mean, the other thing that I'm seeing looking at her chart individually is like she's having compared, like, whereas like his looks like it sucks right now, she's having pretty good transits, right? She's gonna have Ketu going through the 10th. That's good. She's got Jupiter in the 7th right now. That's also
hmm.
good.
Oh.
Jupiter's gonna go opposite Jupiter when it's in Cancer. That's good. Um, so I feel like another thing, you're older than him,
I am.
right? And so what I think this could be is that like you are gonna maybe perhaps be modeling for him how to get through this kind of stuff, right? Because
Mhm.
you are comparatively to him, you're in a pretty secure position. Like the transits you're having are favorable. And so maybe this is about like, you being there for him through this kind of difficult transition moment he's going through because I don't see I feel like your chart for the next year is going to be pretty good, and it's going to be like a culminating kind of part in your life. And so, so what I'm saying is that subjectively, this year is going to be a lot easier for you than it
Oh.
is going to be for him, right? He's going to have a lot more difficult emotions to deal with than you are. And so perhaps you will have the ability to like, have some space and give him some grace while he works through his shit, right?
Yeah.
Also, you have Jupiter and Mars 12th from your ascendant. You're a Sag rising, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I feel like you're really strong. And I think that you have a lot of like mental and emotional fortitude. So for someone like him who has his Venus and Mercury in the 12th house, you probably would be able to be a good model for him in terms of like how do you deal with it? Where do you find, find the wisdom in what you're going through, right? Like what are the learned lessons? How do you stay strong? How do you stay motivated to work through these things? I think that these are all things that's pretty integral in who you are, from your own life experiences. So it could help his like poor little 12th house Venus self.
Okay, yeah. I was just wondering, like, also, like, what's going on with my fifth house, because I'm gonna have like Venus transiting in my areas, and right now, like, I am an actor, but I'm not working as one here in LA because
Oh,
it's tough. So yesterday I was like working. I work as a babysitter as well. So I was like working, and I saw on TikTok like a video of a girl, like she's doing a series of her life. And yesterday I got home and I was like, oh, I'm gonna write a series of my life. You know, how I overcame like the abuse relationship that I had with my ex, how it's to be a Latina woman. In 9 days, I'm gonna have my citizenship ceremony. So I'm gonna be an American citizen.
oh my God, congratulations.
Congrats. That's awesome.
So I was like, okay, now it's time. Like, if I cannot work as an actress because I depend on directors, casting directors to cast me, I'm gonna create my own series. And I always wanted to talk about
Yes.
how it's to be a Latina woman, an immigrant, overcoming an abusive relationship, because that's what happened to me, and how it is, all that journey, all that process. So I started like writing a script. So I think maybe that's why I was like, okay, I'm so inspired, because Venus is gonna be like back and forth on my fourth house and fifth house, right?
Okay. I'll let you take the lead on that, Hope. I gotta step away for a minute. I gotta go put the chickens up because it's dark. So
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Sounds good. No, I have a lot of thoughts. First of all, the fact that it's happening like fifth in your fifth house, I think it's very much speaks to what you're talking about, right? Because you're like being an actress is very Venusian. It's an artistic craft. So, like it's not that like these Venus retrogrades are gonna just manifest as like a relationship thing, but I think that if you're a creative, it is really gonna play like as a turning point in your life in regards to your career. And I was talking about how the first second of Aries is you having to hustle and um you having to muster up the courage to take what's yours. And the first second of Aries, the way that Austin Coppock describes it, it's this like primal caveman with this axe who like goes out into the world and claims what's his. So it's this very like primal energy of like, no matter what, I'm gonna take what's mine.
Yeah.
So I think that like, what you're doing, this approach of like, I mean, I'm going to go to the casting directors, I'm still going to audition and stuff, but if that doesn't work out, I'm going to do my own series. I think that like the doing my own series and going to the casting directors is both very like first, second of Aries. And I do think that by the time that Venus stations retrograde, which is on March 1st, I think you are going to get a taste of your desire to become an actress, whether it's because you put something out there or whether because you heard back. There is going to be like a taste of it. And I also see that your natal Venus trines this cycle essentially, which I think is favorable.
Okay. I'm
Um
actually thinking of posting after my citizenship ceremony. So I'm already writing like day one of finding myself, day two. So it makes sense because it's going to be 9 days. I'm going to post after the ceremony, not
okay. And when's the ceremony exactly?
February 15th.
February
25th. Sorry, February 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. So February 25th, and you were planning on posting like a week after that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is that? Like March,
March
like
1st.
March 1st. Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah. That's great. And your Venus, I don't know, like Alex might correct me, but it seems like it's really strong. Your sun's at 3 degrees of Scorpio, right? And your Venus is at 7 degrees of Sagittarius. So it's like what, like 34 degrees away from the sun. So it's not combust, which is great. Um, and also, yeah, your moon is also conjunctor Venus, which I think that moon Venus conjunctions really supports like beauty, physical beauty, charm, but also like a kindness and a sweetness to the people around you. And I also find that like moon Venus conjunctions, the people who have them at least, they tend to be more likable. There's something about them that's more likable, and I do think that that adds to star power a lot, whether it's, you know, being like an online personality or whether it's being on like a show or a movie or a commercial or whatever. There has to be something about you, right, that like resonates with other people.
Yeah.
And I love that your moon and Venus is like trining the retrograde that's happening in Aries. There is like a whole sign square to Pisces, but I think that's, I don't know, I think it's far enough away that like it shouldn't be like a big hindrance per se.
I thought my moon and my Venus was not conjunct because my moon is in 0 degrees of Sag, and then my Venus is on the 7th.
Mhm.
So that's why I thought
I think that like for the moon, like you can go up to like 11 degrees because the moon is so fast.
yeah.
And the fact that it's in the same sign, honestly, I think like, and like in the same decan is like close enough, honestly. Um, yeah.
Sure.
So one thing I would add, since you're talking about your aspirations for fame and
Jupiter
recognition,
squares too. Sorry.
uh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your chart, you've got Moon here in Sag, uh, and then the planet right before it in the next sign is Saturn. Planet that comes after it in the next sign, right? So we ignore Venus because it's in the same sign, is Jupiter, right? So this is called uh, Dadarada, right? It's a special condition in Vedic astrology. And it says the moon in Dharada of Saturn and Jupiter produces a famous, wise, revered, happy, and glorious man, a handsome and calm person who is clever in the knowledge of stratagems. That's from the Yavata Jakata. So that is a auspicious configuration for your moon, and it's also rising. So yeah, I would just thought I would throw that in there from a ancient text.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
yeah.
Thank you for the angel text.
Okay.
Thank you
Well,
so
thanks
much.
for calling in.
Yeah. Thank you
Appreciate
so much.
you calling in. Yeah, I would just watch out for July, all right? Because that looks like that's the next kind of turning point in this relationship. You got both your charts are being activated, and I looked at the composite chart. The composite chart is also being activated because Venus will be square Venus and Mars will be opposite Venus. So, uh, you may just want to, just be careful around July time and wait for that month to be over before you make any kind of permanent decisions on
Okay.
things.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, guys. I just wanted to say that I follow you both and I really enjoy and I like every tweet that I see. And
Oh,
if you're
Aw, thank
watching,
you.
please leave a like on their video. And thank you so much for your time. And I love you guys. Thank you. I really
Thank
do.
you so much. I
thank
really appreciate
you.
that. That's
Love
so
you
sweet.
too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Who else do we? Let's see. I think Paula joined next. Let's have her on.
Okie
Hey Paula, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Alex? It's nice to
I'm
finally meet
great.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
All
I
right.
think we have. Because I think you're someone you frequently comment on my posts and stuff, don't you?
I
Yeah,
do. I'm
I
the
think we've
floating tongue ring
interacted before.
emoji.
Yeah. I think we've interacted a few times. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We're gonna do my villainous crush, who
Mm.
is an MLM boss. He's a man who's shown up frequently in my dreams, so this is gonna be a little bit different. I don't know if a composite works for this, but I've got my birthday and his, as well as an approximate birthday time, because I'm certain this man is Leo rising because he wears orange jackets and Versace bathrobes, has a beard, that type of thing.
Right.
I'm
Okay. Well,
serious.
maybe we can look at your synastry first, right? And
Okay.
then because we haven't looked at synastry yet, and
Oh, that's a good
that's another
one.
thing. So
Yeah.
let's do you guys' synastry. All right.
Oh,
So what is your birthday, Paula?
March 6th, 1992, and I was born in Mexico City on 8:55 a.m. and I'm an Aries rising.
Yeah, you are. Where were you born again? Sorry.
Mexico City,
Mexico
Mexico.
City. Okay.
Okay, so
And
you're
then
Aries rising, Aries moon, Pisces sun.
that's correct.
All
And
right.
I'm so used to seeing mine in whole sign. And then this man's birthday is June 25th,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll wait for you to get that up.
Uh,
So it's June
June
25th,
25th.
1988, and he was born in Berat, Albania, and that's spelled Berat, and then Albania. And I think he was approximately born at like 9:30 a.m. ish.
So what should I put? 9:30 or 9?
Yeah, 9:30 works.
All right. Cancer sun, Scorpio moon. Oh man, that Scorpio moon
Yep.
conjunct Pluto down here at the IC. That's like mommy issues.
Kind of, a little bit. It's actually weird. Last time that Saturn was retrograding, like in Aquarius, and it squared his moon, his mom landed in the hospital. So that's how I know I've got an accurate birth date around that time.
Cool. All right,
Yeah.
let's look at a synastry. Um, put you on the inside, him on the outside. Okay. Um, all right. Okay. Mars, Sun, his Mars on your Sun. All right, I can see why you are drawn to him. All right. That can be a very magnetic kind of pull. Um, hmm.
Even if
Where's
somebody's a bad person and you know that they're a bad person.
mm,
It's
so
probably
that's what
the
you said.
bad
It's a
boy energy
villainous
that you're
crush.
drawn to. Sorry. Um, I was just saying that's probably the bad boy energy that you're drawn to.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Alex, what were you gonna say?
Well, you said this is a villainous crush, so you feel like this guy
Yes.
is
Bad
uh
for like an
lacking
MLM.
in scruples.
Because I tried doing the insurance agent thing and I got my license, and then I went over to another company that's not his company, and I found out from the AIL victims lawyer and Viceroy about a police report on this guy, and that this company is actually just writing all of their uh, chargebacks, or like whenever somebody cancels their policies, they get a chargeback, and they write all of their agents' receivables who leave as assets. So it's like bad stuff, really
Well,
bad people stuff.
so the thing is that so he's Leo rising, right?
Mm.
That's what we think, right? So he's got Mars conjunct Rahu in the eighth, right? That's very bad. However, Mars is a morning star in his chart, right? So when Mars is in the eighth and it's a morning star, it's typically less sociopathic than when it's an evening star in the eighth house, right? So there's some saving grace there. He still may be comfortable with, secretive maneuvers and exploitation, but he's ultimately going to lean towards having some humanity. Uh, Now, if it was an evening star conjunct Rahu in the eighth, I would be like, okay, maybe you should run. But morning star, not so bad. Not so bad. Uh, let's see. Hmm. I mean, in terms of your synastry, there's like, where are your moons? Okay, so you've got good. So the moons are like moons can't see each other, but that's not necessarily bad. They're in different. You don't want the moons to be in. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, his moon is in your eighth, right? That that's not great.
You guys also have nodal synastry, and I only count nodal synastry if you can see it on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, your north node is in Capricorn, and your south node is in Cancer, and it's conjunct his sun in Cancer, and then his north node is in Pisces, and it's conjunct your sun
Mm-hmm.
in Pisces. So I don't know too much about nodal synastry, but what I do know is that there is this like sense of like fatedness, and there is this like obsessive quality to it, especially when it's the north node, because Rahu is the obsession, and it's the kind of like the insatiability as well. But yeah, that's going to intensify, I think, like whether it's the chemistry or whether it's the relationship itself, it is going to feel kind of like a wild ride, so to
Yeah,
speak.
and you'll be pulled together, right? If you do end up in a relationship, the nodal synastry can help you stay together. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Sometimes you end up staying long past when you should with nodal
Oh my
synastry.
gosh.
Other times, it keeps you together for like, a nice long relationship. But yeah, that's a good catch, Hope.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
I don't
Um,
know if we would ever get together because of like him living in California and stuff like that. It's just weird to me because I've dreamt about him 3 different times. The
Mhm.
first time was like around in May whenever I left that company that I worked for that he is now senior partner from. And in the dream he was on top of a tall building and it was right before his solar return. And after his solar return happened, he was actually promoted to senior partner and actually
Oh,
announced that
that's
he was
interesting.
going to be investing in real estate. So it was that kind of creepy, weird type of thing. And then in June of 2024, I dreamt that I had a workplace affair with this man who I've never met in person. So that part was weird. And then last week, I had a dream that he was giving a speech at a conference, like one of those MLM conference type of things. I don't remember what the speech was about, but it's been like a really frequent and a really weird pattern.
Hmm. Let's get their composite chart.
yeah.
See if there's any events coming in the future.
Shit. Okay. All right. So, um, all right. All right. So, oh, look, your composite Venus is in Aries.
Ah, yeah,
Interesting.
at 18 degrees of Aries. So it's outside of the retrograde, but it's still within the same decan. It's still in the second decan of Aries, so it is still impacted.
I mean, one thing I think is interesting is that Mercury here is conjunct your composite Mars, and you're talking about him like he's a bad guy.
But the company's bad. It's a bad company. If you go to Viceroy and type up Globe Life, you're gonna get like lots of different reports.
See what else is
Um,
going on.
yeah. Mars is going to station on your composite Jupiter soon. And Venus is going to station near your composite Venus soon. Um, yeah, let's see if there might be a time. Oh, there's going to be that Mercury retrograde going forward, so maybe there could be some communication. Have you spoken to him? Like,
Twice
is it
online.
twice?
One, it was to ask about his real estate venture. The other time was because some guy who was an investigator messaged me to tell me that some guy who worked for American Income, who was the state general agent, went to the company that I went to, and that he was systematically replacing his downlines policy. And I know that he knows that guy because he was friends with a man who was business partners with this man. So I messaged him to tell him that, and it scared the living crap out of him.
Right. Well, I
Yeah.
think there might be some more communication here in mid-March during this Mercury retrograde station on your composite Venus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
March? Gosh.
Yeah, mid-March, there might be some more communication takes place.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Is it good or bad communication?
Well, Venus is there, but she's retrograde. Um, you know, Mars is square your composite Venus though, so it might be like might not be good. It might be him being like, "Hey, why are you like spying on me and all of
Oh
this shit?" Right?
no!
Like,
That's not
yeah.
good.
Maybe you get
That's
some.
really bad. I don't want him to find out that I've been helping out the investigators against the company. That's not good.
Hmm. Well, I don't know. I would definitely watch out for this March time period though. Yeah, mid-March. I don't know. Let me know what happens for sure.
Okay, I will send you a
Yeah.
follow-up
And Mars
message.
is also opposite your Saturn. Damn. Yeah, because you have Saturn square Venus in this composite chart, and then Mars is activating that Saturn Venus square. At the same time, Mercury's activating the Venus. So yeah, maybe some
Is this
harsh
me
words.
doing something bad or him being angry at me?
Yeah, I don't know. There might be, I think this looks like things coming to a head, right? So yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but it doesn't look great. What do you think, Hope?
Well, I do think that it's interesting that a lot of your configurations, not a lot, but some of them, like the Venus in Aries, the Jupiter in Cancer, North Node in Aquarius, and South Node in Aquarius, does line up with transits that are coming in the near future. So like Jupiter enters Cancer in June. So if you're still like entangled in some way with him, I would imagine um that this Jupiter in Cancer season is going to play some sort of a role in it, maybe like friendship. Um, and then the North Node does go into Aquarius. I think like maybe like end of next year. I'm not
Yeah,
exactly.
it's approximately 18 months from now.
Yeah, so like 18 months from now. And if you guys are still entangled with each other, I would imagine that some major events would occur in 18 months as well. It's it's so like early. It's like such like and it's like nothing's really quite happened yet, but I do see that like just by like the placements of some of your planets and the nodes within the composite chart and how it lines up with like future transits that's coming in. I do find that really interesting. I wonder if this is something that kind of goes on for a while.
No.
Especially because Saturn and Neptune are going to be entering Aries too, really soon. And it's going to be going back and forth, obviously, but you do have your composite Venus in Aries. It's in the middle of Aries, closer to like the end of it. So maybe it won't actually be that big of a deal. And it won't really be that felt. But Yeah, I don't know. I think that's interesting.
It is. And I guess I'll let you know if it turns out to be bad.
Yeah, keep us in
Yeah.
the loop.
Yeah. Send me a
I don't
message
want
for
to get in too
sure.
much trouble.
Did
And
you
y'all can go, huh?
yeah, did you have any other questions before you go, or that was a cute chart. Thanks for showing that. But just wondering if you had any other questions, or if you were if that was the only thing you wanted to look at.
So
I do
you,
say I think that one thing that I find interesting in your natal chart is this malefic conjunction here in the 10th, and also Venus is here, and this could be like having a very wide social circle, right? Especially as you get older, right? Like, are you pretty well connected with people? Like, do you have like a lot of friends in high places, so to speak?
that would be really nice. Right now, it's been mainly through networking against this company that I've met a couple of people. I'm friends with a couple of interesting people on Twitter as well. But in my personal circle, I kind of decided to cut a lot of people off after the pandemic because everybody became really politically polarized, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
kind of a centrist, so everybody just seems nuts.
Well, you may find that this is something that is more active as you get older because, it's an upachaya house, which means increase, and these tend to give their results the older the person gets. And so you're only 33 right now, or 32.
32.
So yeah, so I would expect that like this next Saturn cycle is gonna be you may end up building that part of your natal promise out because it can take a while for placements in the 10th and 11th houses to uh really come to fruition, right? But yeah, I could definitely see this chart being some kind of like, political strategist or opposition research type person, like a Roger Stone type of individual, right? So,
You kind
uh,
of did like the post about the podcast I did about the pedophile Cape lawyer.
yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. It'll be interesting to see what you do going forward.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Alex and Hope, and I'll let you guys go to your next person because they've been waiting a while.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Paula.
All right.
Thanks for
Thanks,
calling in.
Paula. Thanks for calling.
Okay, Cece, I think you had mentioned in the chat, I think you've been here a while. Let's bring you on. Are you here with us, Cece?
Yes,
Hey, how are you
hi.
doing?
I'm fine.
Good, good. Nice to meet you.
Um,
So,
nice to meet you
uh,
too. I've been following you for
oh,
years.
really? Oh, nice. Well, great. I'm
Yes.
glad to have a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you want to talk about today, Cece?
Um, I don't know if I can talk about my relationship because we're pretty young. We're in our early 20s, so and we haven't been together for like 8 years.
Right, right,
So
right, right.
I don't know, like,
It's fine.
can
Yeah,
I? Because I don't have his birth time
that
though.
doesn't matter.
So
That's fine.
Here, let's
okay,
get your chart up first.
Yeah.
Um,
okay. March 29th, 2003. 7:20 p.m. Opelika, Florida.
oh, how do you spell that?
Oh,
OPA dash LOCKA.
hey.
Oh, that's by Miami. Okay.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah. Are you Libra rising, Aries sun?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Well, PM.
Interesting. Okay, Venus in Pisces conjunct the moon. Um, yeah, and this Mars retrograde has been going over your midheaven. Has there been like some drama with
Yes.
work or home recently during this Mars retrograde?
Yes, actually, with my cousin, she has a lot going on. It's my family in general, but yes, a lot.
Mhm.
But I'm used to that. It's been going on since I was a kid,
Right.
so it's really nothing new.
Mhm.
Okay. Now let's get this person that you're with. Are you guys are dating?
Yes, we are in a
Okay.
relationship.
What's his
April will make it 2 years.
okay, what's his birthday?
His birthday November 5th, 2002. He was born in Miami.
Miami.
I don't have his birth
That's
time.
okay. I'll just do it for noon. And then all right, so he is a Scorpio sun and a Scorpio moon. All right, interesting. Double Scorpio.
His
Uh,
moon could be in Sag if he was born later. And
Yeah, I think so. He his personality definitely fits Sag more than it does Scorpio. So I definitely think he has a Sagittarius moon, which would square mine,
right. So if he's
unfortunately.
Sag moon, then moon would be conjunct Ketu. So Ketu moon person would be someone that would be, kind of, aloof and also a
Yes.
little bit psychic and maybe a little bit frail. Right? His body may be a little bit sickly and or he might be
No,
prone to
actually.
illness. Um, Another thing with Ketu moon people is that they often receive a lot of praise from their family when they're children. So does any of that describe him?
Um. Well, he doesn't have a frail body, but he is pretty
Right.
skinny.
Okay.
He's very
All right.
small, very
Mhm.
slim and
Okay.
tall.
Yeah, that's another thing with Ketu. All right. So let's put it forward about, let's make it like 11 p.m. because then that should put his moon in Sag. Yeah. All right. All right.
Ooh,
Cool.
his moon would definitely be on my south
Yeah.
node.
All right. Then okay. Let's do the composite. Um,
Okay.
Combined. Okay. All right. Here we go. Now, you said that in April it'll be 2 years. So let's go back to April 2023 when you guys got together.
Yeah. Actually, we met April 2023, and then we got into a relationship in August 2023.
Okay. So you met April, all right,
13.
April 13th. All right. And
Oh wow, there was an eclipse.
There was.
Yeah, in April 19th, 2023, there was an eclipse in Aries, which would have been 7th from your ascendant.
it would also,
Oh,
yeah,
I
it
did
would
not
also
know
been
that.
square their composite Venus.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then Venus here is like it's at a 150-degree aspect here, but uh, Venus is actually in contra Antitia to their sun and moon here. That's interesting. All right, and then Jupiter square Venus. All right, so but you said August is when the relationship actually formed.
Yeah, August 29th.
All right, let's see what's going on here. Oh, look,
Ooh.
Venus. Transit Venus is on your composite Jupiter.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Mars is square your composite Venus. Uh,
Interesting.
Saturn sextile composite Venus. Um, what else? Jupiter trine composite Venus and also trine the moon, composite moon. Huh. Was there was this like a big deal? Like did he make a big show
For
of
me,
it?
yes, this is Yes. This is both of our first like really serious relationships. So
Oh, really
it's a very
serious.
big deal.
Okay.
Yes, very serious.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. I wonder what that Mars is. It's in an overcoming square to you both of your guys's Venus in your composite chart. What would you would you
Huh.
say that there was some sort of like outside force? Maybe someone that's like another like a third party, whether it's like I don't know, like a third wheel perhaps, or like sort of a love
Yes, on
triangle.
his side.
Okay.
Mm,
Yes, on his side. They
spicy.
tried, but obviously that didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's too many good things going on for you guys with the Venus conjunct Jupiter, the Venus trine Jupiter. Yeah.
Um, let's see if we can go forward
Okay.
and see. I wonder if we can pick out like good and bad days. So, um, I would expect that like around here would have been nice, like around October, mid-October, 2023 would have been
Um,
nice.
I mean, I guess. I don't
You don't
remember.
really remember?
Pretty
Okay.
chill. Yeah, I guess it was a pretty chill month.
Um,
It was just before his birthday too, so
what about, all right, I think, what about New Year's 2023? Was that special? Because Jupiter was trying your composite Venus here.
um
But wait a minute,
I think
Mars
that's
is
when
getting
he
close to your composite Venus around New Year's too, though. So I don't know. Could have been a mixed bag. Could have been like, was this good or bad? Was this good or bad? I'm gonna say
uh
maybe good, but after some drama.
it started off good. January 24. It definitely started off good, but then by late January it was, but it wasn't between us, it was like outside forces again,
Mm,
like family.
Right.
So yeah,
So
a lot of family drama getting in between
yeah,
us.
in late January, there was this conjunction of Mercury and Mars that's close to your Sun and Moon in the composite chart. So that could have
Yeah.
been Mercury and Mars is like criminals and like interference and like uh, it's just Mercury Mars is wild energy. All the old texts talk
Yeah.
about it being calamities and stuff. So, but Jupiter is here trining the composite Venus, and Venus is conjunct the composite Venus. So you guys made it through. Does it
Yeah. We're still going
might have made
strong.
you even
Very
stronger, right? Brought you together
yes.
more.
mm.
Yes, absolutely it did. Yeah.
Was it like your parents that were coming at you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mines to be specific.
Okay, yeah. I'm just thinking how like Mercury and Mars in Capricorn, I just hear like really loud, like old people just like screaming and yelling. Yeah.
Well, let's go forward a little bit and see. So, I mean, I would expect that Valentine's Day would have been nice.
Yes, it really
Yeah,
was.
yeah, because that's Venus conjunct your Sun and Moon here,
Oh, it's so cute.
and yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay,
And Mars is
yes.
left
Very
at
nice.
this
yeah.
point.
Mars is left at this point. Mars is not causing any problems. Let's go forward a little bit more.
Pluto's out of there too.
Uh, and then I would say probably next big development is around April 2024. Um,
Um,
that has what's going on
um,
here? Don't tell me yet. Uh, this could be like honestly, it could be like a I don't know if this doesn't look great actually. There's this
Really?
But Venus is here in making a square, so it's like a step forward. Usually, when Venus is angular to the composite Venus, it's a step forward in developing the relationship. Uh,
Yeah. I
so
mean, yeah, nothing
nothing
really
bad
went on.
happened.
No, not really. Like a few days later, or like I think a week later, we went out.
Right.
For he considers the day we met our
Okay.
anniversary.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What about here in May?
May.
This could have been kind of spicy. I think this could have been nice. Actually, this could have been like,
Yeah, we went out with friends.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Looks like some.
Yeah, 2024. We went out. We went out quite a lot.
All right. Now, I think here, when Venus goes into Cancer in the summer, um, it could be a like kind of leveling up. Like, have you guys been? Because this is like Venus opposite Venus is like a culminating point in the relationship, and perhaps things getting more serious. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know what was going on around like mid to end June of 2024.
Nothing much.
Right. Just
Not
kind of
really. Yeah, it
going
was
along as
pretty much
normal.
chill. Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there any date?
It was like when July
Oh,
came.
July.
When I like traveled out out of state.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Is there
It was July
right?
6th, I think, or the 7th. Yeah, I traveled to Chicago. It was my first time stepping out of state.
Right. Is there any particular date that you wanted us to look at in the past, or you want to go to the future?
I actually would prefer to go to
All
the
right.
future. There's really not much that happened in the past, other than like I said, it's really outside
Yeah,
forces,
yeah.
But that's dealt with now. So
Well, you guys are pretty young, and so I would imagine that a lot of it is, just having fun since you guys are, you know,
yeah, having
yeah.
fun and trying to get our life together at the same time.
Okay, so now we're up to present day almost. Okay, so present day.
Mars is opposing their Capricorn stellium right now.
Mm,
Yeah,
so yeah, are things
Rocky.
a little rocky right now?
Rocky. No, I just feel stuck right now. Not in a relationship, but just with life. Like I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to look at your natal chart for that. But in terms of the relationship, yeah, Mars is going to station direct here opposite your sun and moon here. So, um, but Venus is here in a square to the natal Venus, and Jupiter is doing what? It's in this, yeah, the sixth from the composite Venus. So, not, I mean, I don't know. I don't see this as particularly. I mean, I think you guys may have there might be some kind of thing that comes up that you need to discuss, but it's not super worrying. Usually for bad stuff, you want to see Saturn and Mars doing uh, funky stuff, right? Now, when Saturn goes into Aries, that may be actually the first challenge in you guys' relationship. But that's later on. Let's see, when does that happen? Because I would say if there's going to be some kind of stumbling block or issue you guys have to work through, if you want a time period to like watch out for so that you're not overreactive to things, it's going to be, yeah, here in the summertime. Because there's like Saturn's going to station retrograde, square Venus, Mars is here. Mars is trine though, so it's not you know, it's not disastrous. And Jupiter is opposite Venus, so there's like saving grace. Honestly, this could be things. Are you guys thinking about uh like moving in together or anything like that?
Yes, actually, we're trying to
Yeah,
move in
this could be
together.
moving in together actually. Um yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
cuz yeah,
we need
yeah.
that.
Mm, yeah.
Cuz it definitely looks like things getting more serious, right?
Yeah, he also wants to he also wants to like get married
Mm,
too, but it's like again we're not really we don't have our things together. You know, we're still living with our
right.
parents. You
mhm.
know, finances are low, so it's just not a good time right now.
Yeah. Well, we've saw that Saturn making aspects to the composite Venus is oftentimes things getting more serious. You know, this is a square though, so it might be like a compromise. Like maybe instead of getting engaged, you guys move in together and decide to try that first.
That's exactly what I'm gonna do
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. So I would say, yeah, mid-July, that's the next turning point I see in the relationship. Yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll definitely watch out. Summer's supposed to be
Yeah,
fun,
yeah, it'll
so.
be cool. Now let's look at your synastry just for a moment, just out of curiosity. Okay, let's see. Oh, hmm.
Oh, that don't sound good.
No, no, it's not that. I was checking for the nodes to see where the nodes are, because his moon's on your Ketu, and then
Yeah.
where is his node? Oh, his node is here.
Yeah.
Their
Both of
nodes are
them.
conjunct, basically.
Yeah.
So he's got. All right, so all right, just looking at both you guys' charts, I feel like you are probably the hotter one, and that like people are like telling him, maybe his friends are telling him that you're out of his league.
I don't know. Maybe. Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, you have a few good things going on in your chart in terms of like your looks. I mean, for one, you have like Moon and Venus conjunct in Pisces, and Venus is
Yeah.
exalted in the sign of Pisces. So I bet you look good even if you don't put makeup on or like do your hair or anything. It's like
Yeah.
a
He says that a lot,
yeah,
actually.
I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah, whereas his Venus is combust.
actually,
His
Mercury.
Venus, I mean, his Mercury is too, but his Venus is
Oh,
combust.
yeah. I see
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
Mm,
I think that you guys have a really nice blend of like harmony, and also like enough tension too. So the one
yeah, we're both Martian, so there's enough of
you got,
that.
yeah, you guys are both Martian as hell. Um, but you know, you have like a really nice like Moon, Venus, Uranus conjunction in Pisces, and you know, he has that stellium in Scorpio. So I think there is this like being able to like understand each other's feelings, you know, be able to support each other, being able to communicate, like have like a communication style that I don't think that like you communicate very like in this like emotional manner. He might, but I think that like when he is being kind of emotional and he is in his feels, you're very like sympathetic to that.
Yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
then
Yeah.
his Mars opposes your Sun and Mercury in Aries. So this is because I've been seeing I see a lot of like points of like harmony, but not enough points of conflict. And I think that conflict is
Yeah.
really important, but you guys do have that Mars, Sun, Mercury opposition. And I think it's a good thing that they're both like masculine planets, meaning that um,
Yes.
so it's like yeah, so it's like the good times and the good vibes aren't necessarily being like aren't experiencing a wet towel over it every time. It's more just like a power of like will and a sense of like, because I would assume that you're very like assertive, you speak your mind, you are very comfortable in your skin, um whereas
Yes.
he seems like he's a little bit more passive, and may he is Martian obviously, but I think that there is this tendency to want to be more diplomatic, try to
Yeah.
he's a little passive aggressive. And I think that there is this like good tension between you two where you kind of show him like, hey, just speak your mind. And for him it's like, hey, you can't always just push your way through. So
Oh wow, that's exactly how it
I think
is.
it's great because, like relationships, a lot of obviously you're in them so that you can, do romantic things together and, experience love. But I also think that relationships are all about growth, and being with someone who's different enough from you, I think is like really, really good. So I like that point of like tension between you two.
Yeah, that's a very good point to
Mhm.
make, Hope, because I see a lot in synastry charts where it's just all trines and sextiles that the relationship becomes stale and the people are just with each other out of convenience, and there's not a lot of growth that happens in the relationship because you need points of tension to be there. Otherwise, you won't address things
Mhm.
that need to be addressed. Now, getting him to address things that need to be addressed might be a challenge sometimes because of that Libra Mars. I'm usually not.
Yes, you're very
Yeah, I'm usually
stubborn.
not one to stereotype based on sign planet combinations, but in the case of Mars in Libra, it just seems like these are the type of people that will kind of bottle things up, right? And like will try to avoid conflict almost to a pathological degree, right? Until they've reached a point where they can't take it anymore, and then there's this like explosive kind
Mm.
of response. I don't know. Have you noticed that with him?
Mm. Yes, I definitely have. Not towards me,
Mhm.
thank God, because I get him to open up.
Mm.
Right.
It is a struggle, like you said, but eventually he does. Because like I try not to come at him aggressive. Well, I try not to come at anyone aggressive, but for some reason, when I like try to like calmly talk to people, they don't receive me well.
Mhm.
They think I'm coming at them all wild and things like that. I really don't know why that's going on, but like
Mm.
I try to like be calm, and also I I basically like delicately, do it, and that's when he like opens up,
Right. Yeah.
to let him know
You
like I'm
gotta
not
make it
blaming him for
safe
anything.
and be like, yeah, that's a good strategy.
Yes,
Do you guys like to do like have like little competitions with each other? Like play little games to like try
yes,
and one up each other on certain things?
yes, we do. Actually, after this, we're gonna go play a game right
Oh,
now.
cool.
Cute.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a pretty good way to get the outlet of that tension from because his Mars is square your Mars, right? And in the best of
yeah.
manifestations, that's going to be like a friendly competition, right? So,
Mm,
you know, um, it's good that, it does it because sometimes, but it's important not to become so competitive that your ego gets invested because then that can harm the relationship, right? And so,
yes,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't get that far though. It's just
All
video
right, yeah,
games.
that's perfect. That's perfect.
It's really
Another thing though is that, your Jupiters and Saturns are very close to each other. And so are your nodes. So, a lot of times this can be like you are going to have like major life shifts around the same times, right? And so this can be good for
hmm
longevity and like growing together, right? Is it if you have like, either you want like Jupiter and Saturn, right? To be either if they're not conjunct, you want them in some other kind of harmonious aspect with each other. But yeah, so
Okay.
I think it's good overall. Pretty decent synastry. Um, yeah.
Okay. Because that Mars square kind of like scared me a little bit.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
think that's mainly just the competitiveness between you guys.
Yeah, and like Mars, I mean, obviously it can say things about like your personality and stuff, but
Mm,
Mars is it's not your luminaries, it's not your sun or your moon, it's not the and they're also both like aggressive planets. So I think this is if this was like
yeah.
Mars square Venus, it would be more of a problem. But it's like everyone has a desire to like win or overcome or struggle and stuff, right? It's that Martian energy. Um, and I just think it
Hmm.
means that yeah, you guys are competitive with each other, and it like feelings don't get hurt because it's that same energy combating against each other. It's not like your
Yes.
emotions that's combating with that Martian energy. It's also your combativeness coming through. So I wouldn't, yeah, be worried about that.
Yeah, I'm really nice. It's really nothing
Mm.
actually.
All right, well, thank you so much for calling in,
Yeah,
Cece.
thanks, Cece.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having
Yeah, really
me.
appreciate it.
Have fun with your boyfriend.
Yeah, go have some fun.
I thank you.
Okay. Hope, do you need to take a quick breather or anything
I
like that? Like,
do.
you need to,
Yes.
yeah. Let's just pause here for a
No
second,
vibrate.
and we'll both go. I need to get another drink, so we'll do that. We'll come back in just a couple of minutes, guys, and we'll take another caller. All right. Uh, we'll be right back. All right, we're both back.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. All right. So who requested to go next? Steph. All right. Let's turn her on. I think she's been waiting for a while. Hey, Steph.
Hi, Steph.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good.
I'm good.
Thanks for calling into the show.
It's my first time.
Great. That's lovely. So let's get your birth info.
7393,
So July 3rd, 1993.
2:22 p.m.
222. I'm always suspicious when people give me birth times like that, right? Like 1234 or 222 or 444. Right? I'm always like, oh yeah, right. Come on.
Odd thing to be suspicious about.
Montclair, California.
Montclair, California.
Is that Montclair? Like that? Montclaire?
Without the E at the end.
Okay. Without the E.
Are you a Scorpio rising?
I'm a late degree Libra.
Libra. Yeah, she's
Oh,
it's technically
oh,
Libra.
222. My bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
Cute.
Capricorn moon. Love Capricorn moon.
Very
You
serious.
guys, yeah, you guys just like don't give a shit and like are unflappable. It's like nothing phases you guys.
So I'm not in a relationship. I'm single.
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
single for a few years now.
Right. Well, we could go into your the timing for your previous relationship and see if we could kind of predict when you might meet someone new. That could be fun. We haven't done that yet. So that's perfect, actually.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to actually, because we're doing timing stuff, I'm going to also load up your stuff here on the other software so that I can get your Mahadashas ready.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna look at your solar returns. Mhm.
okay, so right now you are in a Jupiter Saturn Mahadasha, and that goes until that started April 2024 and goes until end of October 2026. Jupiter Saturn Mahadashas are, you know, generally not bad. Let's see. So previously, I mean, the last time Venus was the Antardasha was in, that started November 2015 and ended October 26th, 2018. So did your prior relationship start in between like late 2015 to late 2018?
Well, I did have a child in 2015, and my relationship with my son's father did end at the end of 2015.
Okay.
And I kind of was on and off with someone, and that relationship started in 2016.
Okay.
But it wasn't very long lasting.
Right. So that ending of the previous relationship, so because you were in a Rahu Ketu Mahadasha from October 29th, 2014 until November 11th, 2015. And a Ketu Mahadasha can be kind of brutal. It's often associated with like deceptions and betrayals.
Yep.
So, yeah. Okay. Interesting. But so you're all right. So have you had when was the last kind of significant relationship you had where it lasted more than like a year?
It was that one that I ended with my son's father. All the others didn't really necessarily last. I mean, I guess I was on and off with this person after my son's father. But it was over a year, but it wasn't, to me, it wasn't necessarily anything that I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with you, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Okay, that's okay. And what was the time period, or when did you guys meet?
We met, I believe it was um 2016. I think it was July 2016.
All right, let's see when that was. So 2016. I'm just checking something really quick here. Okay, so in 2016, that was the Gemini. That's when Venus made its superior conjunction in Gemini, which is close to you because you have Venus in that kind of region. Um, right. And then there was a retrograde during Venus or when Venus was in Gemini in 2020. In the summer of 2020. Was there anything going on in your love life in the summer of 2020?
Yeah, I guess my son's father kind of came into my life around that time. Um we were co-parenting, and I was kind of like in between, like, is something gonna happen? Is something not gonna happen? But nothing really did. It was just kind of like a confirmation of like, yeah, we're not meant to be.
Right.
And then when did you guys when you guys met in July of 2016. When did you guys like get together?
I believe it was later that fall.
Wasn't that a different person, the person in 2016?
Yeah, somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was somebody else.
The 2016, is that the father of your child? Oh,
No.
who
that,
was
that,
2016?
yeah. She split with him in 2015.
2015. Oh, okay,
Is
so
when they
2016.
split. Yeah.
So 2016 is who again? Sorry.
Just somebody
Yeah, that-
else that was I was on
Yeah,
and
that
off
was
with.
their on and off, not so serious thing. All right.
Okay.
Was there anything going on the fall of 2018?
2018.
Yeah, from like October, around October time period.
I might have been talking. Jeez, I don't. I don't recall anything. Yeah, I don't recall anything significant then.
Well, let's go. I'm trying to figure out which Venus cycle you're sensitive to. It seems like it's the Gemini one. So the father of your child, the start of that relationship, was that in like summer 2012?
Yeah, I mean we met. Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah, that's when things started to get serious, or
Summer of
20. No, it was actually 2011.
2011.
Around August 2011.
Okay, got it.
All right, let's see what was going on. August 2011. Okay. That was the superior conjunction of Venus in Leo. All right, now we had a retrograde of Venus in Leo about 18 months ago in summer 2023. Was there any kind of did you have any suitors at that time?
Yeah, I was talking to someone around that time.
Okay, what happened with that guy?
So he was going through a divorce, and he was like, "Yeah, I need somebody that's gonna be able to be okay with me having a relationship with my ex." But then later down the road, he was just like very, like, "Yeah, I want something, but I'm not ready right now," type of deal. So I was just like, "Okay, I'm over it."
Yeah. Okay.
And that for sure ended January 2024.
Mhm. Okay. So superior conjunction.
All right, so your Venus changed signs a couple years ago, a few years ago in your secondary progressions. I'm just gonna pull up your other progressions. Tertiary. Oh, shit.
Oh, let me pause here.
Okay, all right. So here's something interesting. So usually between so there can be this is not always love, but it's usually an intensification of Venus themes in your life in the tertiary progressions when Venus is between 24 and 26 degrees of a sign. So that starts here March 22nd and goes to April or no, May 20th or so. Yeah, May 21st. So between March 22nd and May 22nd, that could be a time period where if you were looking to meet someone, your Venus would be more active in your chart than it is normally. So that 2 month time period could be something to take advantage of. That also roughly corresponds with the Venus retrograde that we're about to have, which would be there would be echoes from the time period of spring 2017 and then also spring 2021. So, did you have anything in either of those two time periods?
Yeah, I believe during those times I did reconnect with that ex that I started talking to back in 2016.
Mm,
And I believe it ended around June of 21.
right. Okay. Well, have you been thinking about that guy again?
No,
Right.
no, no, I have not.
Mm,
Um, it. I'm just looking at your ZR from your lot of arrows, and it seems like right now your love life could be just a little bit like not a lot of like movement or not a lot of activity.
Yeah.
And that could have been from like October of like 2024 of last year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that period ends and more activity seems to be happening in October of 2025 of this year. And I think it actually kind of goes on for a while because it's an Aries L2 and then it's a Taurus L2 and your Venus is in Taurus. So I would imagine that from October of 2025 to September of 2027, so that 2 year period, that could be a period in which you're seeing a lot more activity, not just in the topic of like love and relationships, but it could also be like whatever you're passionate about or
Mm-hmm.
whatever you like any like creative hobbies you may have or any like interest in certain types of music or certain types of art forms. I think that like those things in general are all going to be kind of heightened. So I would imagine that like when you start to find yourself um getting more how do I say it, like I would imagine that these two things are kind of like are gonna kind of increase together, like an increased sense of like enjoyment of music maybe, or increased pursuit of passion, kind of aligning with your love life as well. But I would think that you might see like the most activity from like October of 2025 to January of 2027. And then from January of 2027 to September of that same year, 2027, maybe like things kind of like like the dust kind of settling and things kind of coming into um more form happening from all the things that happen. So it could be like, let's say you meet someone, or you meet a bunch of different people and you're going all these different dates, let's say. It is an Aries period, so I would imagine that there is kind of this assertiveness happening. And then it could be that like there is one person that you decide like, oh, this is the person that like I would want to be with, and maybe like a settling down with that person happening in 2027. That could be like one way to delineate that. But the themes of activity and then settling down, I think, is something something that could happen for you in starting of October.
Okay. Yeah, because what I've been dealing with the most right now is career and home. My previous job did let me go when Mars was on my sun. And right now I'm just kind of trying to see where I go on the speculative stuff. There's not necessarily anything interesting going on in my love life. It's more of like trading and all that stuff.
Oh, is that what you do? Are you like a day trader?
Yeah, I'm actually stepping into all that. So
Nice.
that's
So-
kind of my focus right now.
Okay. So, I mean, just going from your natal chart, you have Venus is trine the moon. So I would expect like age 27 would have been significant for romantic relationships. Was there anything like significant that happened then, age 27?
27, so that was what, 4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was that on and off guy.
Right.
He had drinking problems, and I was like, yeah, not having it, because I come from a father that has drinking problems, and my son's father has drug and drinking. So I try to stay away from all that now. Like,
Yeah.
I've been sober for quite a few years, and that relationship ended due to that drinking.
So, one thing that I see is that so you're in Ashtatari Dasha. You're gonna enter your Venus Dasha, Venus Mahadasha in this summer, June 2025, right? Now, typically when people get married, you want to see Venus active on both Vimshatari and Ashtatari, right? The next time that's going to happen is in 2029, 2030. However, that's not to say you won't find someone until then, but I mean, I feel like things are looking up because you'll get in you'll exit that Rahu in Ashatari and you'll go to Venus, and then you know I don't know. I feel like there could be. I mean, yeah, I feel like what Hope was saying about later in 2025 could have some validity to it. Let me see what's happening in the tertiary chart around that time. Okay, Venus changes signs. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think honestly, I think that like this summer should be a switch because then and especially once you get into 2026 as well. I also think like fall of 2026 is going to be a lot better too, because especially for money in particular, um, you may have some kind of shift in 2026 with the job. But yeah, I mean, basically, up until this point in your life, you have not had very nice dashas, right? So you have been through, this. You've been in like two Rahu dashas. So from like, yeah, yeah, ever since 2013, things have been like all Rahu until very recently, until like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
that would have
yeah,
been.
and everything's been rough too because I was going through my Saturn return.
Mm,
Pluto was squaring my ascendant, so it's been pretty rough. And I feel like right now I feel like a sense of like feeling a little lost. Like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Mm, hmm.
well, um, I think that, yeah, here in June 2025, when you get the Venus period in Ashtatari Dasa, that will at least make you feel better, right? And you should start to feel more hopeful around this time period. So yeah, I mean, I think the takeaway is that there's some hope going forward. The other thing I had my eye on, even though you haven't been super sensitive to it in the past, is in the fall of 2026. There's that Venus retrograde that's going to go over your ascendant, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
going to retrograde in Scorpio. So that could be good. It'll be opposite your natal Venus too. So I don't know. I mean, if I was gonna bet on the next time period that things would be great for Venus stuff for you, I think you will have a kind of preview in the near future, this summer, and then things should really start to enter a new era in the fall of 2026, which I know is about 18 months from now, but that's still, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Basically, just hang in there, right?
Yeah, things look like they get better soon. Well, not relatively soon, but definitely summer and fall of this year, and then yeah, fall of next year.
Also, you're gonna have Jupiter going over your sun. That's always nice.
Yeah.
Um, and Jupiter in your midheaven the year after. That's
Oh, and
also
Jupiter
really
sevens
nice.
from her moon too.
Hmm. Yeah, Jupiter in Leo transit also lines up with that Venus retrograde in 2026. So that's why I say fall 2026 is probably next time for things to get serious in love.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what? Now that like the we've been talking about how summer and fall, just second half of 2025 and how 2026 looks better for her. We didn't even take into account the fact that Jupiter is going to be seventh from her moon, which is usually a really good indicator of the relationship side of your life. Seeing finding more beneficence and more good fortune and whatnot. So there's an added testimony to the things that we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that makes me think it will be significant, that the end of 2026 will be significant, because in October 2026, that's when your Jupiter Saturn Mahadasha ends. And that is, someone that's gone through that, that was definitely a significant turning point in my life. I think that there's like a distinct before and after. Usually you get a gift at the end of the Saturn and Tardashas. So, there's several things that are pointing to the fall of 2026 in your charts that I think that time period is going to be really lovely. So if you can just hang in there
Yeah.
until the fall of 2026, I think you will be in a new era by then.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
No
You're
problem.
welcome. Um, I I think there's a few other people that wanted to join. So if you don't, thank you for calling in. But if you don't mind, I was gonna move on to someone else. Thank you so much, though.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, Steph.
Okay, looks like Lily requested to go next. Let's get her on. Hi, Lily. Are you there still? Not hearing anything from her. She doesn't even have a mic for me to turn on or off. Okay. Gonna go to the next person. Chris requested to go next. This person also doesn't have a mic. Chris, are you there? No. No response from Chris. All right. Who requested next? Yike. All right. This person seems to have a microphone. Yike, are you there?
Oh, is this audible? Is this? Can
Hello?
you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right.
Sweet. Hello, Yike.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Great. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you for hosting.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So, what would you like to talk about today? We can look at just your natal chart. We can look at any kind of relationship you're in. What do you? It's your thing. What's your
I'm not in
fancy?
Oh, I'm not in a relationship, but then I've been a peer-reviewed slow burn with a friend.
Okay.
Slow burn with a friend.
Well, let's do your chart first. What's your birth information?
8th July 2002,
July
6:43
8th.
a.m. 2002,
And what was the time?
6:43 a.m.
Okay.
in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Cancer Sun, Gemini Moon. That look right?
Yep.
All right.
I'm not used to
Yeah,
this
I
name,
know. I use
so,
a different
but
one than
yes.
everyone else because I'm special. All right. Let's see. You got Jupiter Mars conjunct. And it's rising. Are you athletic at all? Were you
What?
athletic as a child? Did you play sports? Not really.
Not really.
Interesting.
But I did have quite a few outbursts. Fallen Mars is not for the weak.
Yeah, that Mars is going to station on your sun soon. How are you feeling? That seems like some pressure.
Driven. Jupiter's a station direct. I am studying.
Yeah, station on your moon.
It's my L9, yeah.
Okay. So you're studying, is that what you said? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You're in uni. Yeah, well, it's interesting because Mars has been going through your first house. I wonder if there is a lot of are there any is there like an incentive or a drive for you to become more assertive or stand up for yourself more? Is there anything that's going on with your character or your personality?
Yes, I do believe so. But with retrograde, I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's going retrograde right now, and then it's going to station on your sun really soon. Which should be a really big which should be like a pretty momentous point for you. I think that what is that like in 7 or 8 days? Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, it's Mars goes direct on February 23rd.
23rd. Okay. So that's soon.
Okay, so I'm wondering if are you like musically inclined? Do you play music?
I think she's gone.
Did she leave? Oh,
Maybe she lost connection or something.
yeah.
Um,
Okay. Well, wait, is that her joining Mac again? Yeah. All right. Hey, are you there? We lost you there for a second. Hello.
Hello?
I can hear an echo now. Are you on your phone or something?
are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. Do you play music? Do you like
Yes.
music? You play music?
Yeah. Played piano since like 4 and other instruments
Nice.
as well.
Yeah.
How did you
Yeah.
get the music
Because
linkage?
all right, so music. All right, so first off, your Mercury is at Phasis, which is going to increase its strength. Also, it's a morning star rising, and it is second from the moon. And according to the Yavata Jakata, um, uh, let me find the quote here so it is correct. Yes, one who is born under Sanafa in a configuration with Mercury is an eloquent and wise poet who knows music, singing, sacred traditions, and sciences, a well behaved man, friendly to all creatures, whose wealth and fame should increase.
Did you say sacred something? I grew up with the
Sacred
Christian
traditions, yeah.
I grew up at
Interest,
church, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Also, your Venus is conjunct your lot of spirits, which would add additional testimony to you being some sort of an artist of some sort.
So,
Can I
yeah,
circle back to the slow burn thing with a friend? Can I have his chart up here?
yes, yes, yeah.
Great.
Let's do that. All right. Sorry, my computer's been lagging. All right, here we go. Yike. Interest. What's his information or her? I don't know. I'm trying not to be homophobic here.
Also 8th of July, 1995.
Oh, really? Same birthday
Yes.
and time? Do you have it or no?
I think it's maybe around 10 p.m. So make sure it's an Aquarius rising. I've rectified that.
Okay. And what's the location?
High Wycombe in the UK.
Say that again.
High Wycombe?
I don't. These fucking UK places.
Sorry.
How do you say that? How do you spell that?
Yeah.
So High Wycombe, Wycombe.
Oh shit. God damn it. Here we go. In Buckinghamshire. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, this puts his rising as Aquarius. Okay. Let's just do the composite real quick. And I think that can tell us when there might be a time when you guys. So
Hopefully.
is this like a situationship or whatever? Like one of those type of where you're kind of
No.
like fucking around, or is this just a
No.
crush?
I mean, it's a friend.
Oh, it's a friend. Okay. All right. Venus is in Leo. So this
Neptune opposition, though.
oh yeah, so that's the thing is with composite charts. So Robert Hand says you can read the composite chart to tell the nature of the relationship. I have his book on it, and I have tried to use it to mixed results. So I'm not convinced. I'm reserving judgment on using the composite chart to delineate the composite chart like a natal chart, right? Robert Hand says you can do it, and I'm sure he knows more than me. But just in my experience, I'm reserving judgment on that. So
Was the summer of 2023 significant for you guys at all?
No.
When
Not
Venus was going retrograde in Leo?
well. Funnily enough, I think I sort of had a crush on another guy who is 3 days older than this one. So there was that.
Mm, that is
She
interesting.
3
also
days
has
older,
her
he got the
Venus
Libra
in
moon.
Leo. She also has her Venus in Leo, so she could just be sensitive to that cycle.
Mm,
But then it's like a natal Venus retrograde. So I think back then I did sort of reflect a lot on how I viewed with my relationships,
mm, mm, yeah.
but nothing in particular with this one.
So has anything happened with you guys? Like, is there a
What do you mean
date
by
we
that?
can look at?
No,
When
Right.
did you guys meet?
I don't have an exact date for that. I think it's maybe around September 2021.
That's fine.
I don't
Yeah,
have an
so
impression of him at all because we didn't talk until like summer of 2023. Maybe that is the thing.
Okay.
since September 2021, there's
That's when we first met, but then never talked
where-
until like 2 years later.
Right. So when you started talking? That
I mean, the
was
friendship started around summer of 2023.
Okay.
right. Okay. Well, that's gonna be during this Venus retrograde in Leo.
Yeah.
All right. So because it's like Venus stations retrograde here at the end of Leo, which would have been conjunct your natal Venus because your natal Venus is at 26 Leo. So, yeah, then there is, yeah, all right. And then it stations direct here in September.
So the superior conjunction, when is that? You said in 4 years, Alex?
It's 4 years from the summer of 2023.
Okay. So like summer of 2027,
Yeah, but
couple of years.
it's likely they could have something before then.
Yeah.
Here, you see what
did
you can
see,
see, Hope. I'm gonna pull up her dashes real quick.
Okay. I'm gonna look for some. I keep seeing things further out than sooner.
I became more interested in him when Jupiter was right over my moon, like directly conjunct. That's
Oh,
an
interesting.
point.
Okay.
So that's summer of 2024.
Has there been anything recent with that Jupiter station?
There we go.
Not that much.
Okay. Those are a lot of arrows. Display 7 months. Let's see. Cancer. Oh, interesting. Your lot of arrows is conjunct your Jupiter, Mars, and ascendant. It's like right. It's like in the mix of all that. It's crazy.
Ooh,
Would you describe yourself as a passionate person?
it depends on what the passionate is.
But so
I'm
the
never-
things,
I'm never normal about my interests.
So if you have an interest, you're like very like maybe like very passionate about it.
I guess so.
Okay. So you're in a Saturn, Venus, Mahadasha. All right. So by the end of that Dasha period, there should be something that Venus gives you. And that period
And when would
ends.
that Mahadasha
It
end?
ends on February 10th, 2026. So that kind of narrows down the time period we should look at, right? So the expiration date is beginning of 2026. All right, so that should help. All right. So let's look for activations to this chart between now and 2020, the beginning of 2026. All right. All right, we need to go forward quite a bit. All right. Okay, almost to the front. Sorry. Yeah, I could change it, but go faster. But all right, here we go. All right. All right, so there's this time period. This retrograde obviously is going to be trying your composite Venus. This is one possible time period where things could develop. However, I say let's go forward to
Oh,
um, the summer. So this one's interesting because we have transit Venus conjunct the composite Saturn. Saturn is trining the composite Venus. Um, Mercury is conjunct the composite Sun. Uh, Jupiter and the Sun are on the composite Mercury. And yeah, uh, I like this. I like this summer. Yeah, around June.
Yeah, I can tell it's going to
Yeah.
be good. So for my interest, I think for his solar return, Jupiter is on his Venus, like exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, I like this time period. Let's go forward a little bit more. Also, oh wait, look at this. Look at this.
We do have some things.
Look at this. Jupiter and Venus conjunct on your composite Sun with
When is
Mercury
this?
stationing. This is August
Ooh.
12th of this year. So look, we get Mercury stationing direct on your composite Venus, and Jupiter and Venus are conjunct on your composite Sun. So this
That's
could
a
be
really
like,
good find.
yeah, and then oh look, Mars is conjunct the composite Jupiter. That's like a good luck. Saturn's still trying composite Venus. So this to me is like, loving words, right? Change of fortune. I don't know. I like in between like June 17th and like August, like between mid-June and mid-August basically. I like that time period.
Like I see the sun as like a lot of the sun as like the intention. So if the sun of a composite chart, we could speak to that as like the intention of the relationship, and if that's being hit by this Venus Jupiter conjunction that's happening, it does kind of seem like the intention of the relationship is moving forwards in a more like loving, perhaps like fruitful romantic relationship. It's possible. Or it could also just be that like you guys grow a lot closer. And the romantic thing maybe doesn't happen, but the intention of the relationship might be changing around then, from like friendship to something more.
Yeah, I think if things are gonna get serious between you two, it'll be between mid-June and mid-August. Yeah,
I'll look forward to that.
yeah. Cool. Do you have any other questions?
Yes. So for my interests, that's a question just for him and nothing about me. So that he's buying a house, but then wait. Oh, Saturn's.
So we want to look at his chart, you're saying?
So when that's going to happen, so when he will get to move. So that started, I think the concept of buying a house, like actually doing the work, started on the lunar eclipse in September last year.
Mm.
I should be very close to his Saturn.
His Saturn is in Pisces, right?
Yep.
Well, there's an eclipse on his Saturn soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an eclipse on his Saturn in March. Or it's yeah. March 13th, 2025.
Oh,
I
there we
do
go.
think there will be much more to do with finances as the nodes are in that second and eighth house.
Yeah, so yeah. Hmm.
Oh yeah, not this layout. My bad.
Yeah, I use a different house system. I'm using equal midheaven houses because this is what I think Firmicus Maternus used. But that's a tangent. Um, Regardless, I mean the node Rahu on his Saturn is definitely like acquiring land, right? And
Ooh.
he does have so he has one of these things where so because he's got Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury all angular to each other, right? This is in the ancient text they talk about this being like land ownership, right? Um, Now, hmm, his Jupiter. He's got Jupiter here on the fourth. Yeah, yeah. I feel like it should be happening really soon. I feel like March. Let's look at the transits for March.
I think giving March a good guess, but I'm not sure about that. Or maybe I'm just secretly rooting for him, hoping that it will progress sooner as he wishes.
Is the question, is he going to acquire a home? And if so, when?
I mean, it's like when he will get to move to his new house
When
that
will
he
he get
owns.
when will he get to move to a new house that he owns?
So this eclipse that's happening here is conjunct Saturn, transit wise, and conjunct his Saturn here, but then his Mars is also involved. And the moon's conjunct Ketu. Does he have? Is there like finance? Is his family helping him with this?
Yes.
Right.
I think he's buying from from an inheritance from his mother's death quite a few years ago.
Yeah,
Like a fund.
that makes sense. All right.
There's also the Venus retrograde is happening around then too.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
The other choice is here. Let me show you what I think the other choice is, and this is probably going to be more likely than that eclipse. There may be some development during the eclipse, but I think that what's going to happen here is because Saturn's going to trine his Jupiter, right? And Saturn, the important thing to remember with Saturn is that when you're timing transits to Saturn, you don't look at when the aspect perfects. You look at when Saturn makes its retrograde station right before the aspect perfects. Right? And that retrograde station is here in July, right? So this is Saturn's here at 1 degree of Aries. His Jupiter is at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, right? And so the Saturn trine Jupiter, which is what you want to see for acquiring land, because Saturn's land, Jupiter is increase, right? I think here. And this is also when transit Jupiter is down here by his Venus and his Sun. And Venus is opposite his Jupiter. This looks a lot more favorable um, than March, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go with July is when things will actually be sorted out and he will actually be taking possession. Now there may be something that happens in March in regards to the negotiations or the purchasing process, but I don't think the process will be completed until July. I think there'll be some kind of delay or some kind of unforeseen bullshit that occurs and that it won't actually go through until July.
Okay, great.
I don't know. What do you think, Hope?
Yeah. I mean, his natal promise of owning land does seem to be pretty good. Moon and Jupiter are conjunct. I mean, maybe conjunct is the wrong word here, but
No, they are. They're like it's Moon gets an 18-degree orb, so they're definitely within range.
yeah, it's out of sign, but they are conjunct, and Moon is trine Saturn, and generally Moon Saturn together does mean like, I don't know, like owning land, owning lots, owning things that require a lot of responsibility. And Jupiter is also conjoining his Venus in July, which should be a good thing in terms of what is he again? He's a Aquarius rising, we
Yes.
think. And that's sixth from his ascendant. So I don't know, like owning a house is a lot of work and responsibility. There's a lot of sixth house things that go into doing that. So I mean that could make sense. It's like good things happening in terms of good, like the types of responsibilities and chores you want to be doing. If owning a house is a part of his dream, it could be
It
because
is.
okay, yeah, that makes sense, especially with this Venus retrograde cycle. There is a lot of affirmations for this July period, although I do think that he's probably going to be going through the brunt of it right now for the next couple of months.
Yeah. Also, Ketu in the 7th is a spending a lot of money, right? Uh,
Yeah, he has mentioned that.
yeah.
Mars is there too, so
Yeah. Now, another thing that's interesting is, when I mentioned that thing about Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter all being in angular signs of each other, if the moon is also in orb of being angular to Mercury, then they will become like a landlord and acquire money. Now, the moon here is not has like if the moon was more into Sag, that would be better for that. So I don't know if he's actually gonna have more than one property or not. I mean, I think by the time he's 36, that question will be answered, though. Yeah, but he could, because that moon is also on. It's angular to Jupiter. Now, I just I'm not sure if that counts or not. I need to go back and look at the text to see if that's part of the if that's one of the conditions of the yoga or not. But he definitely should own at least one property. Now, whether or not it's going to be more than one, that's a question I need to look up the yogas for. But I'm not going to do that right now.
does that answer your question, Yike?
Yeah. In fact, I think you've answered more than I've asked.
No problem. We aim to please. We aim to please. All right. How are you
Should we
feeling,
move on?
Hope? We've been going for a while. Do you want to stop or do you want to take one more person?
No, I'm losing steam. If you
All
want to
right.
keep going, you keep going, but I don't think that I will be useful
Yeah,
for the
that's
next person.
fine. We've been on for 3.5 hours. So I am sorry that we didn't get to everyone. I know there's still some people waiting, but we will try. I will try and maybe do more of these live solo and take more callers. But I kind of agree with Hope. I'm starting
Sorry,
to
Alex, I do have
lose
another
steam
question.
too. Oh yeah. All right. All right. One more question.
So with Jupiter going in my Gemini, like 12th house, like over my chart ruler, and then now it's direct, it will go over my Saturn, which is my 7th house lord. So I wonder what it means or what could happen from that transit.
With Jupiter. Hmm. So I feel like that you would have got the result of Jupiter Saturn conjunction in the past. Um, that's already happened. Um, because if we look here, so Jupiter stationed on your Saturn, like here. So yeah, I feel like this was when you got the Jupiter Saturn transit result. There would have been like a turning point in your life. Like, this was in the fall. Did you start some kind of this when you started university, maybe? That's what I would imagine. You would have started university
I
maybe
didn't
a couple
start
months
uni at
before.
my first year, but I did start my final year. Yes,
All
I
right,
can
you
go
started
back.
your final year. Okay. Yeah, yeah, you're old enough that you wouldn't be starting, but was there some kind of I don't know. Did you get some good news here?
No?
No. Well, maybe I mean, you're not sensitive to every transit. Uh, I mean, Jupiter did station direct on your moon just now. Oh, one thing. Have you been having any kind of weight fluctuations over the last 6 months?
Oh, that's a good question.
No?
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, because sometimes Jupiter on the ascendant can make people a little bit on the broader, heavier side, right? And then Jupiter transiting the moon can trigger that, make it go up and down. Now, Mars is here afflicting Jupiter, so maybe you are not as
Yeah, my weight's
big
been
as
pretty
you would
consistent
expect.
over the years.
Yeah, Mars may be damaging Jupiter enough that it doesn't give that result.
I don't particularly enjoy eating too much. For perhaps it's the Moon Saturn conjunction over there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I think that the Jupiter transit in your life that's in the near future that's going to actually be good is when it's here, when it goes back and it stations direct on your sun, because it's going to hit your sun right here in March 2026. Are you going to be graduating in that spring?
No, I do
Or
aim
will
to
you have already,
graduate
or you're
in July
graduating now?
2025.
Right. Yeah, you're graduating July
But there could be
2025.
delays.
July 2025. I mean, that's when around when Jupiter's in your first house, approximately. But yeah, I would say maybe here is good luck. Yeah, yeah, definitely take advantage of it. This Jupiter station, right? If you're looking for a time to start something that you want to like a project or some kind of like enterprise, like something that you want to carry on into the future. A Jupiter station direct on your sun is a great election for that. So, keep that in mind. You might be able to exploit that to your benefit.
Yeah, but the sun being, yeah, L2 is like, yeah, it's like great finance thing. So
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Sorry we didn't get to everyone, but I think we're going to go ahead and end the stream now. And I will be back with another stream soon. I just want to give it up to my co host, Hope. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this like super long stream and being flexible with the rescheduling. She's great. Everyone, round of applause for Hope at Dear Mortal. Go and follow her if you don't already. It's at Dear Mortal, okay? All right, guys.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
All right,
Thanks for
guys.
calling in, Yoik.
Thank you. I've definitely spoken too much.
No, you're good. All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right.